be. It should be. It can't be that one sub-DAO has a like 50 or 60% haircut, and others say, "Well, we keep ours," so
Yeah,
that won't
and
work.
that's the thing. Devs, like I asked, maybe I wasn't explicit enough, and I didn't say it for the purpose of, I didn't want to tell you like, hey, you have to take 75% off. But maybe what we should have done is saying, put it to a vote. What do you think we should do with February school emissions across the board? 50% haircut across the board, 60% haircut.
Yeah, as I see it, there are like two ways we can do that. We can make sure that we have the emissions for February and March. First, we have something like a proposal where we reduce the emissions overall, so people are willing to say, okay, they did great work, and obviously the last proposal didn't work because it was maybe too much or people weren't satisfied how the grape are distributed. But if it's less grape, then people are willing to say, yeah, okay, we approve that, and with new metrics or with the metrics coming into play, everything will change. So we do that for February and March, and people accept it. Or we need to completely forget the idea that anyone gets something from February and March, and we change how we distribute the grape for February and March.
You saying, so you're saying we either take a reduction equal across the board, or we take nothing, and then we
Yeah,
take.
basically, it's the first option would be, or as I see it, is to convince the community to release the funds and say, well, okay, every sub-DAO reduce their emissions, and everyone gets a bit less, and that's okay for everyone. Or we completely need to change it, because if we just stick with the proposal as it is, it will fail. So
I see what
basically
you're
we
saying.
need to convince people that this is a good solution, because it's a balance, right? We can't just say, okay, people did work 2 months and get nothing in return. So it needs to be fair. People who vote also need to realize that if they just vote no to any proposal, then people will leave.
So if we were gonna go the new method, we would reassess under the new criteria.
But what is the new method? This is not even. We
There
don't
is
have
no new
something.
method. It's
Uh,
literally like, it was my hope that we would throw out Archimedes, or roll out Archimedes new like eight little faucet thing. But that just kind of, took a back seat.
We still have 2 weeks to do that.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. But the criteria, like, I don't even know. I can't. Like, we don't have an area where we have all the new criteria set brought forth.
Right.
We can do that over the next 2 weeks. That's not a problem, right? But for the researchers, for example, it would need a bot would need to be created. So if that bounty I created, let me ask you all this: do I just post it on a discourse for review? Like,
We'll do that.
what's okay?
Or
Because I
what
wasn't
yeah,
sure
what
where
do
to
you need?
submit it.
Oh, I see.
Like, what I wasn't sure what the formal method was going to be when bounties start coming in. Like, where are we going to throw it? Are we creating another area on discourse for bounties that's
Yeah, we
open
need to
to?
collect them somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, so like that's
and
what I was
keep
thinking. Like
track.
it's gonna get lost in the noise. So on Discord, should we just create an area?
Maybe Gitbook, I think, pause. What do you think? We can have them there for anybody to show. That's an easy reference. Um, but do
So
you mean, Dinah, for people to look at and like, if, for example, for your bounty, it could be somewhere where we throw it to, we give it to, what is it called? What's it called? Where I forgot the name of the DAO.
devs,
Not the devs, not our DAO, the super team.
super team.
Is that what you're asking? Yeah, I mean,
No, 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 no. I thought we were doing this all in house.
yeah, we can do it in house, but
Okay, so
I don't think
how
it's
we how we execute it is separate. But before I wanted to throw my bounty in, I wanted to find out what is the expectation when either new people or when Pontes brings a bounty? Where is a place where we have it so it can be easily brought back? Because even when we're talking about things right now, the criteria, I don't know where to look. I know some of it was brought up, but we didn't consolidate the information.
Yeah,
specifically
we
for
need some.
bounties. I put them on
Yeah,
on our documentation.
so that's
Like
fine.
I
Like
have
as
a
long as we have an area where it's
Yeah, they
clearly
they should
communicated.
they should be in the documentation, but we should also have a discourse post where someone who's responsible for the post updates the the first post in the thread. So basically, we collect all bounties that are active, and we need someone to basically manage it.
That'd be Pontes and
Yeah,
Pavelson.
yeah,
Um,
and basically there is a thread in discourse where they update the bounties, and from there we post them in the documentation to also have an external reference.
mm,
As long as there are people responsible for things, we can always make it like uh, posting things on discourse and they collect them. Similar like I do it with the agenda. Basically, if someone has something to add, then I edit the first post.
Now that you bring up the agenda, uh, we'll need to add a couple of things there. One being the 37K that is being requested on top of the event emissions by
Yeah, right,
Taki.
right. You're absolutely right.
And also a proposal I pushed with Taki on an idea, let's say an official request to the NFT Council for some NFTs that we can start distributing to. It's a way to incentivize voting, but I can talk a bit more about it on the call.
yeah, I think I personally think we need to create new channels. Um, one for bounties, one for updates, and one for the newsletter. The newsletter if it's posted weekly, it just gets posted on that newsletter. Because what is the only form of communication that the newsletter is out? It was just posted on Grape Chat, right?
Yeah, it was on Grape Chat and Twitter.
I'd say Twitter as well, yeah, of course.
Yeah. So like I'm thinking like this is what I mean like with the communication. And this is something like I'm still learning on like my other project to like properly convey it to the community. Is that we have announcements, events, and social feeds. Okay, what else
Hmm.
is important here? We need updates like whether it's on Barn Dog, doing something with Binance, out the alpha video coming back like that. Those are all updates that are being put on Twitter, right? But we need like I think that's something I don't know what subDAO that would fall under, and like I'm always trying to think from the perspective of the community because we get so in this bubble we're forgetting some things. And Paul's like this. I don't think this affects you as much, and no offense, like Tim, like this is just sometimes when you're in the thick of it, it becomes hard to see what the community needs. So we felt that when Taki came in and he wrote his post on what the DAO board needed, we felt that again whenever Dean came in and kind of gave us all like a fucking thrashing. Not literally, right? But saying that we were just focusing on emissions naturally. Um, and it made sense, but it's just like when we're just in this bubble, we need to think about
Yeah.
what does the community need, because we're seeing all these updates, but how many people are actually reading the newsletter? You know, um, I know it's just started. It's not a diss, but I'm saying like, how can we communicate that more to the general public? The Athens DAO, like those are all updates. Perhaps they're not announcements, but like an update. Like we just secured this speaker, for the Athens DAO. Um, Maybe that's a task on the DAO board.
Yeah, right now it feels
No,
like
yeah.
we try to patch things and try to get everything together, and we are not basically ahead of things, but I really don't know how we could.
Hmm.
It's just so much to
Yeah,
do.
it's too much. Yeah.
Yeah, it is too much, but we need to find things that we can focus on. So I think making headway on the bounties is important, and I think we're doing that.
Yeah.
Both with yours Dynite, the one that Archimedes is pushing. So I want to see how he's thinking about that.
Yeah.
So I think the first priority is us thinking how things are moving forward and not spending as much time on what remains. Uh, but obviously, certain things need to be done. A strategy on how we handle these emissions, or at least what you pause outline now, is important. But there's always, to me, there's always the significance is in the future, what we're expecting and what is coming next, and that's important for everybody. It's tiring, and it's most of the time it's not really useful to look back. Um, so I'd say as a board, we keep the focus on the bounties, we keep the focus on what's coming up,
Yeah.
ways to incentivize, where we should lean on, um, as a community, and yeah,
Right,
I really,
which is
yeah,
why like I came to the communication. I realized that we're
exactly,
we're
yeah,
transitioning to like the bounties, but like how can we, put it out, or like have an area where when I come to Grape Discord, I see that
you
this
can see the
bounty is
bounty.
being worked on. What are they looking for? Just an area where it's easy, because you get lost in it. You get lost. There's so much
Mm.
shit on this Discord. Anyways, like that's kind of a bit off. It was just something I was thinking about when I was reading the newsletter. Um,
Yeah, so having a place for bounties on Discord, mm,
yeah, just
where
something to
people
think
can,
about.
Mhm. Yeah, we had something similar for the Mountain DAO grants, right? Where people could come in and ask
And
questions on these grants, and
And
that's
it doesn't even need to be every bounty, it could be this is the bounty we have now voted for. Here's an update.
mm-hmm.
Here's the newsletter. Here's an update. You know.
God's Love DAO had brought up a good point, which was the idea initially when thinking about bounties like a couple of months ago, of having a bounties manager, uh, who
Yeah.
maybe that's a very, very important task, who maybe is not involved in the day-to-day stuff of each bounty, but as a very good general overview, is providing the updates that Dinah is mentioning, and is making sure that these communications happen. Um, so that could be a DAO core.
100%.
That could be a
Yeah.
DAO core task.
Is that something that
Obviously,
maybe God's love can do then? Maybe. I don't know. Like something needs to be
yeah,
found for him.
yeah. I mean, he's super involved. So
Yeah.
let's bring it up to him. I'll send him also a message,
Okay.
and see what's up there. But I think that's a good direction we're taking, because somebody needs to be on top of these things. I'm texting him now.
Regarding the emissions, basically, uh, do we continue with what Archimedes proposed? We need to decide on a direction.
I think we should. We have no other direction. Like,
Yeah. The only
I
thing
know.
is
Mhm.
just not emitting anything, since it's basically a deadlock what we're doing right now, and or continuing with what we did regarding the emissions. But this obviously will fail, so it's basically the same. So
Yeah.
I see no alternative.
Yeah. Yeah, me either. And there was ample time. Nobody brought anything forward.
Yeah.
Mm.
I also posted what Godslove sent in discourse, because he made it. He posted a picture in Grape chat. Regarding the bounty manager, that is. He called it bounty governance manager.
Yeah, so send him a message. Let's see what he says, what he thinks.
Yeah, I think we really need to make a decision today regarding emissions. I have it on the agenda, and our agenda looks looks like 2 hours aren't enough.
Yeah, I'm gonna like I'm gonna try to keep each one of these to 20 minutes maximum, and if we have time, we'll come back. But if we hit that 20-minute, like, I don't want to be here for
For the
3 hours.
emissions
Like,
alone, this I can see
yeah,
us talking for an hour.
yeah, it was like 1 a.m. last time, like when I passed out, like brutal. But it was just very, it was a crazy call is all. So I wanted to stay on, but still.
What do you think, Archimedes? Should we continue with your proposal regarding the emissions? The pools?
It's so hi. Look,
Hi.
my bias here is that I want to try and get something that moves us forward.
Yeah.
And gets us to a place where we have a plan that we could execute on. But I realize that trying to do anything prematurely, having heard some feedback from different, from different members, I don't know what the value is of holding off and not moving forward with some of the pools, at least. Like, let's put it this way: we started the discussion around the bounty pool, right? It's something that's happening by itself separately because we found an initiative that's something that's being supported by multiple members. There are a lot of people that want to be able to do it. Okay, great. So that got support. I think we know DAO rewards are another piece of that puzzle. That we want to reward voting, we want to reward proposal creation. Maybe the DAO pool. I don't know if this needs to be one generic proposal that just implements all the pools, or if we put each one to a vote and let the community decide, and maybe instead of there being one proposal for this generic process, which I prefer. Call me lazy, but I'd rather have one proposal that outlines the entire process. And if somebody wants to reduce the size of one of the pools, if the community wants to reduce the size of one of the pools, that's the whole point of having them, right? You could take a pool down to 2 grapes if you wanted to. It's there for allocation purposes. You don't have to use it, right?
Yeah,
If
I
the
think we
work
need to have the structure in place. That's it, right? So,
exactly.
and that's basically my question: whether we should continue to push for that, or do you see any different route?
my quickest answer is this: in the interest of decentralization, we're trying to get all these different initiatives going. I don't see any other way to get them going than to have them as being separate conversations. And the only way to have them being separate conversations is to have them with their own allocation, right?
Yeah.
So, and the DAOs, you could assign responsibility to each one of those pools to a different group in that capacity, and a sub DAO can have sign off on, you know, how much each pool gets or whatever the case is. It's not something we have to decide today necessarily. The DAO will continue to decide whatever they need to decide, which I think is everything. For the time being, we have the bounty. You know, the whole purpose of this bounty that's going out right now about the article for decentralization was meant to be a research paper or something that would help us get to a place where we would identify the next step forward on the emissions discussion, right? But the way it's looking, we're not going to have that done until, you know, end of April. So my opinion is, moving forward, if that's something that you guys want to support and push on, then I'm there. You know, I'm not going to push my own narrative just because I came up with an idea. It's not about me.
No,
You know.
that's exactly why I'm asking, because once we decide to push for that, it shouldn't be like, oh, that's on Archimedes. So, or when it fails, then yeah, it was Archimedes' idea. It was your idea, and it's a good one. But if we decide to push for it, it's basically shared responsibility.
Yeah, and the whole point of the pools is that it's supposed to be something that people can wrap their hands around and others can pick up and run with, right? It's not
Yeah.
just me putting forward something that no one understands. Oh, how are you going to distribute the DAO rewards? We have governance metrics. That makes the decision for us. It's not me saying it or you. The metrics speak for themselves. We still have the old school work metrics, right? The merit metrics that we used to use. That's the base pool. That's the work. We have treasury metrics. Could we use that? Yes. We can't use them all at the same capacity. Splitting it up might be a little complicated, right? And maybe defining the specific amounts in the pools is the problem more than anything else, because that's where people feel uncomfortable because they don't think, you know, maybe we shouldn't be allocating so much grape to one thing, which is fine. And I think that's the real problem in some people's minds, is just defining it that rigidly. But the structure 100%, I think, is needed, and having these discussions around those topics of consideration, just to make sure we have something to move forward with. And then we start talking, how much should each pool get, right? And then you
Would we be
figure out
able to do that?
what.
What do you think? Would we be able to say, like, that could be an allocation that is reasonable for each pool?
Yeah, and it would have to happen, you know, prior to each epoch. Is just you reevaluate whether or not the pool that you had for the prior epoch was correct, and you readjust. There's
Yeah,
no way to.
I know. In
Yeah.
theory, but would we now be able to do it? And do you think? I know it's
Yeah, no,
kind of
100%.
mean to ask you,
100%.
but
Oh, no. So yeah, here's my opinion on the matter. Doing the calculations on the existing emissions, and you look at the bounty, right? Here's a quick high level calculation. How much would the bounty pool need? Well, right now we have a proposal in that's asking for 400,000 grape for us to move forward on the bounty pool, right?
Mhm.
Where did the 400,000 calculation come from? Well, we came up with this on the last call, where we said, okay, to create a bounty, we would like to reward bounty creation. So how much grape could somebody get for successfully creating a bounty? 20,000 grape. Okay, so let's say we want 10 more bounties for the rest of the epoch. How much grape do we need? 200,000 grape. So that's the first 200,000 right there. Then, how much is the reward for this one bounty that we need? We'd probably need up to 200,000, because it's a big bounty, it's a big research paper. Okay, 400,000 grape right there. Bam. let's assume that we had all 10 bounties that we just talked about creating, because we want to be able to incentivize more. And each one of them was 20,000, or excuse me, 200,000. That would have been $1 million. So it's 1,200,000. If every bounty was at most 200,000 grape, right? For completion rewards. And the pool right now that's defined is roughly 1.1 million for the bounty pool, I believe. I need to triple check the numbers. So I think there's a logical way to go about it. You know, the DAO rewards pool covers DAO board, DAO core, anything that has to do with governance, roles, etc. And those should be factored in, not based on the current numbers, but it factors in based on what we define these roles to be worth. The DAO core roles have some pretty high numbers, right? Should that come from the same work pool that we're trying to incentivize people to do work in the community? I don't think so. They're specifically for
Yeah, I know what you
organization.
mean.
Yeah.
What about the sub-DAOs? Do we like right now? It's basically the sub-DAOs say what they need, and yeah, kept Dynite and Dim in the loop. But this would change, right?
I think that might be the only thing that needs to change, is figuring out how to make sure the sub DAOs are satisfied with the outcome, because we obviously want to make sure that we continue to incentivize the work that they're doing. And I think that's
So
the
for
most
the
sensible
pools,
part.
should we just take what they basically requested for the prior epoch, or what?
For the past
What?
emissions,
No, just like let's say for May,
look,
because we obviously need to calculate the pools prior.
I
Yeah.
think there's a fair number of how much work should be rewarded, right? And there has to be a maximum number that is acceptable, or it's an area where we both agree. SubDAO would say, yeah, that's a good number to pay for the best videographer, the best work that's being done in one of the SubDAOs, right?
Mm-hmm.
The bounties are supposed to help replace that model of we just give grape away for work that's just aimlessly done. So there needs to be a lower level of compensation based on just some type of output produced as opposed to quality output. That's something that I've heard recurringly, and that's something that Taki Sol brought up. So I think we need to define some fixed amount that is the maximum that you could achieve for work done, and then whether that work created treasury funds or was part of a bounty, you could get rewards from either one of those pools in addition to the work. The work by itself is,
Yeah, I see.
it's great.
How about we now have we have most of the feedback from sub-DAOs regarding February and March, right? So, how about we try and have something for basically next DAO call on the next Sunday, and during the week we try to prepare the pool allocations with the information that every sub-DAO provides, the metrics that we could figure out until now, and basically because the sub-DAOs gave their reduced emissions requests for February and March, we know what they can live with. So it should be less than initially, but maybe we can find something that's somewhere in the middle. And then we would have something. So basically today we can decide in the DAO call to move forward with the pools. And during next week, we can have an estimate for the May pool allocations. That could be a plan.
Yeah, and look, what I could do is whether everybody agrees or not, I was figuring I was gonna put it forward for a vote anyway. I'd been doing some research and recapping some of the questions that had come up in the last call, just so I could articulate them properly when I put the proposal forward. But I'll put that in um, to start the on-chain vote for the pools, and you know, I'm just going to clarify a few things that we talked about in the last few calls. I've been thinking through some of the dynamics of some of the things we said. There were a lot of questions that and a lot of things that might have been left out, right? Like we were talking about things like, oh, should we be rewarding successful proposals? Sure, that'd be great. Keeping track of them is the fun part, not rewarding them. So I'm definitely down. I'm definitely down for that. I don't want to deliberate and take up too much of your time here. But
No, I think it's important, and also we need to have a plan before we put something on chain, because if we just basically put your proposal on chain to an on-chain vote and people don't understand what that means and
yep.
basically have no idea what the next steps look like,
Mhm.
then it will maybe get rejected. But we need a
Yep.
solution. So that's why I'm trying to find out what we can do, what it's possible, and what you guys think, because Dim and Dynite, you both now have the allocations made by the sub DAOs or the requests. So if you guys think that this could work, then
I mean, it's also about sustaining it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like at this point I'm more along the lines of trying to get past this in the most someone's gonna be upset regardless, but I want to get past this to the point so we could just start focusing on things that are important, such as the bounties and finding the tasks for certain people, and like placing people that are here in Grape that don't have anything to do that could help build further value. Um, and since no alternative has been presented, I see no reason to proceed with this. I don't know if the readjusted, not everyone readjusted. Some, I'll share this during the DAO call when this comes up, if it comes up. Um, some people took, an 80% haircut. Some people took, 60, 70. Some people took a 30% haircut. Some didn't take any haircut off of their emissions for February. All that's being prepared right now is February. Um, it would make sense to just get them both out of the way at the same time. But then again, we would just need some clarity, and I just don't know if it's going to pass at this point.
yeah, that's why I meant we need a balanced approach. We have the February requests, but obviously if there are some sub DAOs who took a haircut and others don't, we need to balance it a bit. So
Yeah. After you said that, what makes sense to me at least is that we just, perhaps even just among ourselves, I don't know. This is difficult. This is difficult. Do we decide? Because it's not fair that it's too long a conversation to say that these people are bringing value, um, and these aren't. I mean, I think we can. I think we could uh, make an educated decision, right? But who does that fall on? I don't want to just make that decision solely when I know I won't, right? But it just doesn't seem fair, and it doesn't matter
yeah,
the solution we come up with, someone's gonna get hoed.
yeah, right. So a good compromise is when everyone is unhappy, but everyone grudgingly accepts. So
Yeah, yeah.
Was that a farming reference? Just so I make sure I understood the Hode reference.
Where does
just
that
came
come
up with
from?
that.
Sorry, did I hear that correctly? Did you say Hode?
Yeah, when you get hoed,
Oh,
like,
got it. No, okay, just checking. That was
yeah,
awesome.
like Yeah, someone's gonna get hoed.
I liked it. I was just making sure, man.
All right.
Another word in Archimedes' vocabulary
Yeah.
with facetious and the other
I'm
one.
using it.
Jermaine.
I'm just, if you hear me use
Jermaine,
it, you know
yeah.
where I got it from.
Don't get hold, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think that is something we can present during the upcoming call.
Where are we?
Because as
with
I said,
the,
there is. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that I really don't think there is an alternative. At least not for
Exactly.
May, and I don't know for June, because someone has to come up with something, and yeah, nobody did except Archimedes. So
I mean, we threw the option out there that we create a bounty on this, but then I think someone said that there could be like, oh, how's the public perception? But like, who's gonna be looking at this? You know.
yeah, and it's
I think
also
it's a resource.
Yeah, there's
yeah,
dual dynamics here. There's dual dynamics here where you want to incentivize the community to work and to do the things that the community needs to do, right? You want bounties to be able to put forward the ability for anybody with an idea to request Grape and to get support for key targeted output initiatives. What are you producing? I'm producing an article. What are you producing? A video. What are you producing? You know, and that's a great way to move forward. You know, I definitely think that we're missing something in terms of like DAO rewards and things like that. And do we need to have a formal proposal for the DAO rewards? Maybe not, but I think it's responsible for the community to see where all the grape is allocated and where it's going.
Hey guys,
Hey,
right.
happy Sunday,
Hello.
Yeah, happy Easter.
happy Easter. I want to ask you guys, because I've heard a few things like we want to make sure that people feel that their contributions are rewarded. We want to make sure that people are getting their fair share. What's your guys' incentive to do what you're doing?
Moving forward.
It's
the
what you
friends.
just said. It's making sure everybody's getting rewarded and taking care of, making sure that anybody that does work in this space and contributes to Grape gets something in return.
I'm asking what you guys have gotten for February and March and April and May. Like the same concerns you have for these, your colleagues. Uh, how are you doing the mental mathematics? What brings you like? Are you upset right now? Are you mad at Grape or like? I want to understand,
No,
from your
no.
viewpoint.
For me, it's basically I invest my time, and I don't necessarily need an immediate compensation. But for me, it's the better the setup or the foundation of what we're doing now is, the better the project will run. And since I'm invested in the project, and not only with Grape, but with my time and with my passion, it will, yeah, basically reward me later down the road. I don't need an immediate compensation.
For me, it's like the value comes from within the community itself rather than just the token and the education and the friends.
No, I get what Dean is saying. Like we're making assumptions on for other people that are producing work, saying like, and we're not applying the same standards that we're applying for ourselves. But yeah, to me, I understand that a lot of people are here to produce some value. They're not here for the same reasons that we are here, and I think that should be fine. I understand that we're trying to cultivate a culture where people are trying to get more voting power. They're here for the long term, truly. But I understand that there's a designer here potentially that is is trying to contribute, trying to produce some value, is not interested in governance. And I'm not sure if we should be excluding these people from our from how we're thinking about things. But that's just my opinion. But at this point, now, as I'm thinking this, these people have become the center of our discussion that is holding us a bit back in other important things, because we want to make sure that they are satisfied and they're rewarded for their work as well. So that's where we're having this.
Yeah, and that becomes a vicious cycle if we continuously say we want to make sure they're rewarded for their work, and yet the way you perceive your reward for your work is different, right? And to a certain extent, the way I see the way we collectively think about allocating this resource that we collectively control, I think it's important that we are building and identifying a band of brothers, you know, or sisters. I don't want to have any gender in there, but you get what I'm saying. It's we're using this resource to identify people. Hey, you know what? This is someone I want to build for years, right? One way I would approach this this exercise of how to allocate emissions is for you guys to really think about what emissions you deserve for this time period, and then start to work from there. I can imagine it's difficult to choose your own reward, but when you start to look at your time investment, you'll be able to then identify other people's time investments. Too much of the problem becomes phantom, in that in your minds you're trying to, you know, help satisfy the requirements for thousands of people, but actually if you decrease it, it's actually maybe only 30 people, right? Like if we look at votes, the most votes we've ever had, and that's unique addresses, not unique people, we only know unique addresses, the most we've ever had on one vote is 90. So the maximum amount of voices we were trying to satisfy at that point was 90. Today, it's, you know, it's a lower number, right? That was back in, you know, if I look at the, of course, maybe people vote more in, you saw this recently, Taki Soul. How many people voted on the most recent votes? Let me see.
We have an average of 30 people per vote.
Yeah, so we're trying to satisfy, you know, something like, you know, anywhere between 30 and 50. And, you know, those are the core grapers, right? The most votes we've ever seen is 101, apparently. And the most recent votes, we had 41 for the DAO pool. We had 60 for the eligibility, 43 for the contest. So yeah, the range looks like it's between 40 and 60. If you guys sat down and put down the names of people who are putting proposals on Discourse, who are, you know, the most active in our Discord, and when I mean most active, like you go to a few channels, you know, you quickly see names that you remember, right? Like, you know, I also have been taking screenshots. You guys know this. I see Dinah always puts his emoji underneath. I'm taking screenshots to see who's coming here, who's attending these things. We see who tweets, we see who likes, we see who writes. You know, I see who contributes to this, you know, the new project I'm working on as well. Like, if you put a list of names, you'll see that it's 50. Then there's going to be this phantom scare inside your head. What about those designers I don't know? Trust me, you know the designers, or Taki does, right? And again, there's only, but instead of trying to make, you know, this, instead of having it as a phantom problem that can't be, that's insurmountable, I would start from just writing down the names, right? Like literally go through. There are a lot of names that are massively absent, that appear on the top of the February emissions. And I think that that's where, you know, at least my original rejection of the problem is that I can see, you know, I know my time investment. I can theoretically understand other people's time investment by looking at the activity here and in discourse and on Twitter. And I thought that there was a massive mismatch between that time investment. We also talk about videographers. Jairus is here every single call, and then, Yarrow is there on every community one along with Starflash. It's not as illusory as we think it is if we start putting the names down to the people that we do know, right? Metaverse, he's right here. He just made the alpha video again. So when we start putting those names down, I think that the problem becomes tangible and something we can address. There's another recurring, so there's a few recurring themes that come in and I think hurt moving forward. One of them is this disconnect between how you guys perceive, how we all perceive the way we work together versus how these illusory other people that are in our community work with us. We should ignore this illusory idea that there are people that have a different motivation. We want to work with people and build for years with people who have similar beliefs and motivations as we do, right? That's the miracle of what we can do with this token, is that we can allocate identifying our brothers and sisters in this building. So the first thing I really want to try to break out of all of our thinking is this, people are working, let's be fair. You guys are working. If you're fair to yourselves, you'll be fair to everyone, right? And then I think the second thing that's recurring is trying to satisfy the past and the future with the same solution. Because you guys, sometimes I hear the conversation, it's like, yes, we're about to have a solution, and then someone can say, yeah, but how do we make sure that's ongoing or enduring or maintaining? And that only takes care of February and March, but not May and June. Maybe the idea of months is flawed. That's one. And two, maybe the idea that this has been stacking up continuously is flawed. Well, the way I would solve this, and this I'm giving you, this is exactly how I would do this. Satisfy the past and say, from this moment forward, that's not how we do it anymore. And we can communicate that as early as today. We say, look, we will do whatever calculations for skill rolls up until April 17th. After that, you are in the wrong community if you think your contribution of time or whatever is something that entitles something. Like, we should all be on the same level playing field. If you guys are motivated enough to do this every weekend and every day and put in hours, I want us to continue to identify us, right, where we're not sitting and thinking about the micro numbers, the short term. I want to be thinking about building something enduring for years. So let's make sure that anybody that might have a complaint is accommodated. Okay, fine. Up until this point, we'll handle all the people who have a current skill roll. But after that, we're going to be going into a bounty system. It won't be on a monthly basis. Just something that way we don't have this feeling of, a trying to satisfy, doing it all at once. I think, the reduction across the board or whatever, like, that's a quick way to tear off the Band-Aid, if you will. That works for me in that, hey, sure, it's not a perfect ideal of fairness, but it gets us past having to constantly have to talk about February, March. Let's stop talking about things in time, because time is what's pressuring us. The fact that we used to connect an evaluation of skill contribution on a monthly basis, I think that was flawed. We've learned it. Let's move away from that. And then moving forward, let's really focus on this bounty-based process, these sub-DAO token processes. That way sub-DAOs can handle their own incentives as they will. A proposal passing, a bounty submission. I think those are easier for us to measure. And we all agree that those are things that require a contribution of immense time and passion into what we're building. Now, if somebody mentioned before, not everybody's going to be interested in governance. 100%. Each sub-DAO will figure out if it needs a graphics done, a way to get it done. I don't think we need to say, there seems to be this locking mechanism that the only way anybody will ever do design is if they're allocated Grape. That's obviously not true. Designs are being done throughout all of the world that have nothing to do with Grape. There's different motivations. There's different ways of compensation. There's different ways for us to pay for things, right? We can do a USDC bounty if we need to. I really want to continue identifying people who are like you and who are like the people in the audience and like the people who I see regularly contributing on discourse, like the people who are asking interesting and thought-provoking questions in our Discord. Those are the people I'm interested in identifying and giving them a bigger voice in our future.
That was a lot. But or not, no buts. That's actually an alternative to the pools. So it's a radical approach. At least I need to digest it a bit, so that's why I'm looking for the right words.
Look, the pools process we've had from inception, right? Each sub DAO is a pool, and they were telling us how much, and it's not that different. Maybe what we need to do is just have smaller groups of people deciding how to allocate different allocations of Grape for different uses. That's possible. But I think we were on a slippery slope the moment we made these tiers, because that automatically created a model where, people will farm on the roll versus people will make sure that they're with people that they admire and they respect and that they're building this kind of, brotherhood around. We really need to remember that this is all permissionless, without leaders. We are identifying people we want to build with. And if we, every so often slip into, this guy though, and okay, fine. This guy though, let's make sure that this guy though is happy for anything up to today, or, as close to happy as possible. But then re-articulate that we want to make this about identifying people we want to build with. I think we already know there's a lot of people that we're farming. Barndog pointed this out on the conversation on the Gaming Council, that a lot of the communities that came into Solana when we came along are full of hunters. And we have that same problem, right? That a lot of people came here for free stuff. And it's a culture that we have to, either say that we're going to embrace. Personally, I don't want to. Or we, straight up say, okay, we're not that culture. And I don't think we're that culture. Things. There are scenarios I can put in my mind where that works, where there's a freebie culture within in a DAO. But the more I think of it, the more I see that that's preposterous. um,
And it's a distraction. At the end of the day, it becomes a distraction.
yeah,
Like, Mhm. No, go
I
ahead.
want like the bounties we talk about. Those are more important. And now, to give a tangible example or a tangible next step, one of the things I'm discovering with a lot of the tools we're working with and working on and unearthing, like Strata, right? We unearthed Strata a very long time ago. That's not just enough. We have a responsibility to also show how to use these tools and what's possible with them. A lot of the imagination requires us to be the dreamers and the builders for it too. So I would posit that the first bounty you guys will see that receives grape and acknowledgement and gets passed and paid and all that stuff. The first successful bounty or grant will most likely be written by one of you. I highly doubt someone else will submit it before one of you guys do. So I would posit that, like, one of the challenges for the next week should be, each of you or one of you, ideally each of you, put forward a grant or bounty of some sort that you think is essential for us to go in the direction of growing and moving forward.
I think my immediate take on your idea is I can see what you're trying to achieve and the direction. I totally can support. That said, the pool structure I understand, and I don't know whether it will work, but I can see it working because it's a transparent way. And whereas your suggestion is not, my fear here is that everything basically, when you do it on a bounty basis, and if you have like no real possible or no way to compare work that is done between people or individuals that contribute, then yeah, I feel that there is no real transparency. So that's my immediate fear, and maybe that's the reason why I'm not sounding that excited. But I can understand the idea, and I'd love to see it work. So yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna be silent now after I see Ryden Red saying that he's only hearing me talk. So I am done until the DAO board specifically requests
To
me.
start. Oh, we need to start because we actually have.
Yeah, I mean, we usually allocate 5 minutes anyways to give people time to get started anyways, so I didn't see any reason to really get this going. All good information, good conversation, good things to be aware of. I'm just gonna say real quick, for me with the emissions, I just want to, as mentioned by a couple of y'all, is like this is a time investment that is no longer yielding positive results for the future. So I'm in the mindset already where I just want to move forward with the task outline of the DAO core, the specialized tasks, the bounties, and then just moving on. So whatever gets us to that point, I'm for. Let's get started on to the DAO call. Topic number 1 would be new prospects and removals.
Yep. So, just as an example of what's been going on with DAO Core, this list has basically been prepared by Avid Learner with just some help of mine. So, Avid Learner, if you like, you can come up and present these prospects and propose removals, or I can do that myself. Up to you. But yeah, here, okay. So anyway, we have these two prospects, MLG, Freno, and Pontes, both really valuable members for our community. So I totally agree that we should be adding both. And on the recommended removals, the first 3 are based on losing gorilla status. I've reached out to Jai and Star Use in the case that there's a misunderstanding or an issue with the wallets. And I'll make sure to accommodate if that's the case. Maino has sold all Grape, it's just a verified wallet, so there's no reason to push that forward anymore. And Natomi, this is an interesting case. I've also reached out to her, but it looks like she's doing other stuff now. So these are the proposed these proposed additions and removals. And unless Avid Learner, you want to say something here, we can move on.
Okay. Our next topic would be the on-chain votes. We have 3 currently going. 2 are ongoing. 1 succeeded the eligibility for Grape membership rewards. Will only be counted if it's deposited on Realms. Is this the first case where I guess a community member other than Dean and I think Billy proposed an on-chain proposal? Is
Yeah, I
this the
think
first
so.
time? Wow.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. It reached quorum relatively fast as well. I wonder what the turnout was. 4.6 million. Yeah, congrats, Pause. Congrats to Grapes, the Grape community. That's really cool to see happening. And we currently have 2 other on-chain proposals going on. The Riptide Hackathon winner to 30K to Gilder, and the tie eligibility for monthly membership. Oh no, sorry. The Create Grape DAO pool. Does anyone want to have any comments on this?
Yeah, regarding the ongoing vote, the 30K for Riptide, it's basically a done deal because everyone, hopefully, who votes knows. But just for clarification, I'd love to see a bit more of a description in votes. So I posted the link. It's basically like we're giving away 30K and you can see the instructions and you know from what wallet will it come and where does it go. But yeah, the title and the description aren't that
You're reading my
explaining.
mind, Triple. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that the community did this and Dean put it forward for the community to do it. That we have 18 Neanderthals right now, and you know, one of them stepped up to the plate and put it forward, which was great. I think creating some type of copy paste template or some very brief explanation on how best to label proposals, right? If there's an
Actually
amount that
did
needs,
that
yeah,
for GitHub Gist, and I
yep,
will link it in the documentation. So I'm doing an
awesome.
overhaul of the documentation, and I will add it.
I figured. that's
Yeah.
that's kind of why I'm referencing it, and I'd love to learn that process because I went forward trying to put forward a proposal where I was writing something. I reached out to the guys to ask. I'm like, guys, it's not taking my proposal, and like too much text. I'm like, what? It's two
Yeah.
sentences.
Yeah. I will have something done by the end of the day, so
Awesome.
there everything is explained, and there will be also a template for every Neanderthal who wants to make a proposal.
Awesome, dude. That's fantastic.
Yeah, will that be posted in like where could a Neanderthal find that? On the GitHub?
Yeah, Gitbook.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
and I think we can
GitBook.
also reference it in Discourse, which is publicly available and everyone can see if we want to just put it in as a point
Sure.
about
And it's
you
easy
could
to
use that.
link to once we have something for Neanderthals to make a proposal or whenever somebody asks. So yeah, we should be
Yeah,
fine.
I guess you could comment on the existing proposal that was there for decreasing
Right. Yeah.
the proposal threshold, and that'd be great. Awesome, dude. That's fantastic.
I didn't know Kyle proposed that. That's still really cool. Really cool to see that kind of engagement and participation.
Yeah, and shout out to Dean for putting that to the community to do it, because that was
Yeah, it was a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those anxious moments I had where I trust that there's no way anybody's going to do it the wrong way, but you know, it's not a small amount.
Okay, any other comments on these on-chain votes?
I had a comment, but is it okay?
Yeah, of course.
Sure, go ahead.
Of course.
For the one that just passed for the tie eligibility for monthly membership rewards, my recommendation is that it's in effect in May, right? And that it's widely communicated as soon as today that that's how it will work from May 1st going forward. And then separately, this might be a good time for us to also decide if we want to move forward with that Grape Plus idea, like Gibbon Plus, and you guys know what I'm referring to.
Yeah, sure. It's actually a good transition because that's the next point on the agenda. I wanted to stress out that we need some form of communication, and we need to decide on when it should be implemented. The mandatory or that only the Grape held on realms will be counted. So we briefly talked about that on Tuesday. And the issue here for all that weren't there on Tuesday is that if I'm informed correctly, there is no way that we can pay out the Grape membership rewards directly to Realms. So whenever someone gets the rewards for a certain epoch, they will be transferred to their wallet, and they are in charge of putting them on Realms. So if they don't do it, then they won't have enough Grape in their Realms account, basically, and they will lose their eligibility. So we need to decide whether there's a grace period, like a couple of days, or if there isn't, or if we say like the last reward can be held in the wallet. So basically only, but it gets really complicated. So I don't want to overdo it, but we need to think about how we want to approach the topic of
I'd recommend, because operationally the person that handles this is Billy, and long term, guys, if the idea is that with the Realms locker we'll be able to deposit directly. Billy, for this conundrum that they've brought up, right? That we won't be able to deposit into their governance wallet, and then we're expecting people to have the membership amount the entire month. What do you think the order of operations would be that is doable for you, and kind of fits that
I have
model?
one more suggestion because I've thought about that. Maybe it's okay if we say you're eligible for getting rewards if you have 90% of the grape needed. So that way, everyone has basically a month or a bit more to put their grape on realms, and it's way easier to track. It's just an idea, but
I think the way the memberships currently work, that if you have, let's say, 1,000 grape in your wallet and you have, say, 23,000 in realms, for the role on Discord, we do count the sum of all the grape you have, regardless of where it is. But for the actual emission, since this vote has passed, we're only going to look at what's on realms. So you do have 30 days to add the additional grape to your wallet so you could qualify for those emissions. I think that's a lot of time.
So Billy, the what would happen then is you could theoretically, for 29 days, not have the full membership amount, and then at the end, like, what's
If
that?
I'm not mistaken, the proposal that passed doesn't say that the memberships will no longer work. It says that the emissions will be only on realms.
yeah.
So, because if we enforced it from day one, everybody would lose their role immediately.
God, I see what you're saying. Now let's say somebody deposits. I see what you're. I see. You're going to look at the presence of a membership in Grape at the beginning of the month, and then when we do the drop, we'll look at that snapshot of who was in the role at the beginning of the month in Discord, and then look for the correct amount on Realms
They
at the end
have
of the
to
month.
have the membership the whole month, right? And
Yeah.
the end of the month, they need to have it on realms to qualify. I
Perfect.
think that's what's different here.
That's perfect. That should give
Yeah,
everyone
30,
enough time.
yeah, 30 days is huge. 30 days is huge. And worst case scenario, okay, if you were absent for the 30 days that you couldn't interact, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe we could be publishing all the wallet addresses where we sent the grape to. So in instances where people have, let's say, 6, 7 wallets and they don't know where the grape went to, the list could be public. You query for your wallet or wallets, and you could see, which wallet it was sent to. Because you want that grape to be sent, to the governance wallet.
Would that be available on Discord, Discourse, or on the website?
I think we should have it on the documentation, so it's easily accessible by everybody. Like where we have the memberships, we could
Yeah.
have like the previous emissions, and everybody could see which addresses the grape was sent to.
And I want to make sure I understand this correctly. You would need to maintain, so when this would be implemented, you would need to maintain membership on Discord for a month. And at the end of that month, you would need to have the amount, that specified amount on Realms.
You would need to maintain the class you're in. Like if you're a gorilla and you receive the additional amount, let's say you don't do it the first week and you do it after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you won't lose the roll because you still have the total amount of grape. But to qualify to get the actual admissions, that grape needs to be in the governance program.
Yeah, by the next snapshot, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair. And
Yeah.
if we
Yeah.
let's communicate it properly. Let's see how many members are going to start doing this, because currently in Realms we have around, I think,
6.3 million is staked right now.
let me see how many unique addresses we have. 1 minute. What's the number, Dimitri? What's the number you said? 6.3 million.
6.37 million, and the number of wallets is 166 right now.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
all
that's
in
correct.
the metrics dashboard. We're pulling, just for edification, every time we pull a staking check to see the wallets and the holdings, we're taking that snapshot right now and just storing it in a sheet. And I've been keeping it up to date since March 24th. So relatively every week we take random snapshots, especially on Sundays, and capture the wallets and how much is staked in those wallets. So if we needed to create some type of, back check or audit trail or whatever the case is, we could. I think that part we
Yeah.
we
So
have.
from the wallets, let's say for example for the gorillas, um, it's around 400 gorillas in Discord. But in Realms, the total wallets are 166. So, the great apes would need to be here. The gibbons would need to be here also. So all the
Yep.
members need some time to start adding their grape on the governance program. I mean, we're very far from having
Yep.
everybody there.
Yeah, I mean, if we were just doing the minimum of how much grape is in based on the number of members we have, we're looking at around 17.6 million grape that the community is holding at a minimum, right? And we only have 6.3 in governance right now. There are a lot of people that would not get their membership rewards based on that.
Yeah, but we are starting in May, so basically we communicate it now, and people have basically whole of May to put it into Realms, right? So that at the end of May, the membership rewards for May, the snapshot can be done. So from now, like 6 weeks, right?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. As long as the process satisfies and it's manageable for the execution side.
Yeah.
I mean, the data will be there. That's great. And the communication definitely just needs to be clear. And I think over communicating this is definitely a good thing. Getting it into the documentation, as Billy said, for the documentation in terms of the wallets, that's definitely an option. And then I think it's a good option. But also clarifying it in the membership documentation, adding a caveat or introduction that we could just point to.
Yeah, I even think
And
this
also
could
like,
potentially be a new task on the DAO core to help be sure we get these announcements or at least reminders on a constant basis, whether it's through Twitter, or Discord. Because stuff like this could be easily be reminded, just so people are sure, even as the God's Love DAO said. It just reminders when the snapshot is going to be taken, a day or two prior. I think would be really beneficial.
Agreed.
okay, cool. I was a bit worried, but thanks for clarifying, Billy. It sounds really doable. So
Did that tackle everything you wanted to talk about for the implementation pause?
Yeah, it was basically my worries there. But yeah, I think like having 6 weeks in order to move your grape from the wallet to realms should be doable, and also like the grace period of basically a whole month each month should be okay. So for people to have proper vacation and don't need to stress out.
Yeah, I think that would be ample time. All right, we can move on to the next topic, which is to establish the Grape DAO pool bounty. Archimedes, do you want to give us a quick summary in under
Sure,
2 minutes?
sure. I could do it in one.
Okay.
So last week's DAO call, we started to explore certain concepts and ideas. We started discussing the the ability for us to move forward on certain things, and then the Tuesday DAO call, we ended up arriving at there needs to be a bounty that we were talking about on Sunday. Let's figure out how much we would reward for it. A number came out as 20,000 grape per bounty creation. That if somebody wants to create a bounty, you can reward them up to 20,000 grape for that creation, and they can split it with whoever helped contribute to them creating that bounty or identifying it. And then we've identified one bounty that we know we want to put forward based off Dean's recommendation for us to put something forward for a bounty. I totally support it and think that was a great topic for us to move forward on. And Taiki Sol's idea behind this was initially to create a bounty, to get something going about tokenomics, but we ended up turning it into an article. And the reward amount is defined as no more than 200,000 grapes. So we've at this point put that in as a number. You're looking at the proposal. The proposal says that there's 400,000 grape that's being requested and allocated. I'm going over my 1 minute mark. Sorry, Dynate. So what we put forward is we'd like to be able to incentivize up to 10 bounties this epoch or whatever the time frame we want. We want a pool that enables us to have more bounties created. So if 20,000 grape is per bounty, we would like 10 bounties. That's 200,000 grape right there. And then for this particular bounty, 200,000 grape to allocate for the reward. Any future bounties that need a reward would need to have another on-chain vote for how much it needs to be allocated for the bounties, unless we treat this as a pool that gets topped up every so often. Real quick, how is that going to be managed, and where is it going from the proposal? Where's the 400,000 grape going? We set up a squads wallet that is a multi-sig, and right now we have the entire DAO board and Dean in as the NFT council representative. I'm calling out specific people here because we also need to get the sub-DAO leaders into the squads wallet, but it's a multi-sig wallet that's going to be controlled by the DAO board and sub-DAO leaders that can decide whether or not there is a successful bounty completed and emit the grape from that wallet for any of those successfully completed bounties. And so what we're doing is, by asking for it from Realms, we're putting it into that squads wallet, and the squads wallet requires a minimum of 5 votes to be able to be emitted. Right now, there are only 5 members on the DAO board, and the sub-DAO leaders will help us grow that number up to over 10. So 10 individuals from the community are going to control the bounty pool reward that can be emitted from that squads wallet. And so this initiates a process by which we want to move forward with enabling and incentivizing the community to create bounties for topics that they think are pertinent, feature requests, tools, articles, content, whatever the case is in terms of something that someone has an idea, put a proposal forward to request that bounty or create it, and you could be rewarded up to 20,000 grape. And the completion reward is something that is going to be defined by the person creating the bounty, and they'd have to adjust the reward based on whether or not it gets traction or not. Was that clear? And does that feel like I answered all the questions that people might have, Dynite? What do you think? Any questions? Concerns?
Yeah, basically the question from Godslove DAO in live questions. So we never really defined what a bounty could be. I guess it's something we need to find out, right? So everyone has a different opinion, maybe of what a bounty could look like or what a bounty should at least be. So maybe it's a good idea to address it right now so that we all have kind of an idea of it.
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, that addressed it, Archimedes. Just gonna read what God's love has posted.
I'm a huge fan of Western movies as well. I'm not sure how to answer the questions necessarily, but in my mind, just my two grapes on this as far as bounties are concerned. Bounties are a means by which, in theory, you could have a distributed consensus on what needs to get worked on, because anybody can put forward requests, and they need to be formal requests that are well articulated for certain things like tooling. If you have a feature request that you wanted something to be developed for the Grape dashboard, or an article on something that could drive Grape forward, something about a new game that's being put out on chain, and need to design something for it in order to promote it for the gaming council. There's a lot of different ways about what bounties mean. They're really just tasks that are allocated some reward for completion. And really codifying what tasks mean is probably the only area that I would see as the immediate point of clarification that needs to be done, I guess. I don't think it's the only model. I think it's a good way of getting a lot of work that needs to get done correctly and rewarding people for that work correctly, or at least as appropriately as possible. Because a bounty is going to have a reward. And if somebody thinks that it's worth picking up that bounty to do it, great. If not, it means that that particular type of work needs more. Hey, God's love.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yep. I figured I'd let you speak, because it's better to hear it from you than to have me try and translate it.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. Yeah. No, everything that you said made a lot of sense. The place that I read it, and my immediate concern was, it could go either way, right? It could go, people might start spamming it and saying, "Hey, I have an idea. Here's a bounty." Hey, I want to comment on this thing that you said, and that's a bounty. Or like, people might not have a good understanding of what it is, and thus not create any bounties. There's like two ways that it could go. Ideally, the best way to kind of like get the people to not go either of the ways is to maybe say, or in my mind, two ways. Like one is give a lot of examples, saying, hey, this is a good example of bounties. I think Dean posted a couple of screenshots, and say, hey, this is a bounty. Like this is an example of how it was, and this is how we decided what the value of this bounty was. And the other thing is maybe set some minimum criteria to say, this is not a bounty, right? This, like, saying, hey, can we get this feature in this app? That is not a bounty. Like, you would have to really think that through and, have enough, content in there, which would make decent sense to then go create a bounty. And again, that tilts the scale in the other favor, where like kind of people might be like, oh, I have this idea, but I don't want to do all of that work to create the bounty. So I was thinking about that in my head. So that's one of the points I raised. The other thing is, apart from the documentation, people might, and again, I'm thinking of it in the perspective of, we do want to encourage people to create them, right? I mean, that's how we will create value, is have a dedicated person that they can reach out to, who could then help drive that conversation. Like, yeah, what you're saying does make sense. Here is some ideas on how you can create a bounty, and kind of take that forward, or just tell that person, yeah, probably that doesn't make sense, right?
It's a great point that you're bringing up, because and this is something that I think came up during the Tuesday discussion. Was we were looking for ways to try and initiate the conversation around, how do we incentivize it, how do we move it forward, how do we get people talking about bounties and thinking about bounties this way. And the idea of trying to bring a specific role to the fold on managing the bounties was something that we thought, at least on Tuesday's call, because it's very possible that we could change that narrative today. But having one person that makes decisions on which bounties go and which bounties don't, it's part of the reason why we did the multi-sig wallet. The 400,000 Grape isn't coming to my wallet, for instance, to make a decision on what goes out. If I were the bounty manager, so to speak. So the creation and completion criteria being defined by one person should also probably not necessarily be something that falls on educating. Yes, I don't know so much about the managing side, like somebody that knows how the bounty works and walking somebody through it so that they can learn how to do it, and us documenting this properly. I 100% am behind and agree with you on every front. But when it comes to managing the bounties, you know, the system or the process should try and kind of self-sustainingly govern itself, whereby you could have any number of people creating bounties, but they're not all going to get rewarded if they're not valid, right? And that needs to be part of the equation, is that there's a chance that your bounty won't get picked up because it's not a valid bounty, and it's not it doesn't receive funding, or there are a couple of dynamics to that I think obviously make it more confusing, and potentially are questions that need to be answered. But I see what you're saying, and I don't disagree that, yeah, there probably should be one person that we define as the bounty master. But what their what their role and responsibility is, and what level of authority they might have, I think would be the key definition that we need to come up with there. That's my two grapes. I'm not a,
This might be something that falls under the bounty hunters that we have in place now, which is Pontes and Pavelson, and they were told that they somewhat organizing or prioritizing which bounties throughout the given epoch would be something under their direction. Maybe Dim can expand on it a little bit more.
Yeah, so we haven't 100% concluded there, but it looks like it's probably going to work out that way, where we have Pontes and Pavlozan, where they will be pushing at least one bounty each per epoch for development purposes, since they're so close to feedback. That kind of overlaps with what Dean is creating here. So I want to see how that's gonna how it's gonna work in the next few weeks. So we finally decide how it's gonna work. But we still need that position that Godslov DAO is talking about, which is a person that is overseeing the bounties, understands which point we're at, and yeah, is able to keep up with all the updates and present them. So I think this is something separate, at least in my opinion.
And if you are going to create a role, I think the first I'm going to plagiarize this. The first role of the bounty master should be to come up with, I think, examples of like, hey, these are good bounties, and these are bad bounties, or these are tier 1 bounties which would get you know paid X amount of grapes, or these are tier 2, tier 3, or whatever. Like, I think if we do have that role, I think that should be the first task of the person in that role.
Can I ask you a question, Godlove?
Hmm.
Would you be a bounty master if it were put upon you? If would you take the mantle?
I've already
Well,
asked that question.
I'm
um,
asking here now.
yeah,
I'm
thanks
asking
for putting
again.
me on the spot. I did tell them that I will think about it. I'm trying to get more involved in the gaming council, and I don't know how much time that'll afford me, but I will get back to you about that.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cross streams here. I figured I'd ask because I like the way you're articulating and putting forward, and I enjoy people who grasp the concepts to potentially be the ones to help handle taking care of them.
No, yeah,
So sorry,
yep,
sorry for putting you on the spot, but thank you for considering it.
yep, absolutely.
And great job, Dim, on driving those conversations forward. No disrespect by trying to ask those questions on this call. I like using this time to just level set and make sure I'm aware, and in case no one else knew that those
Definitely,
conversations are.
definitely. No disrespect taking at all, at all.
Okay, I guess we can move on to the next topic. Grape membership NFT. Is Riptide in the audience?
He commented that he wouldn't be able to join today.
I see.
think earlier in the call, I believe.
Yeah, okay, well, this is something I guess we've divided up into two separate conversations, and ongoing comments have been made on the utility and the design of a grape NFT. What would be the next steps?
I think there was, based on our Tuesday call, I think we arrived at there's going to be a call with a technical call that
Hmm.
needs to be had with the individuals that can help us define the technical requirements for an NFT that we'd brainstorm and come up with what do we want it to do technically, cardinal staking and some of the other things that might have appeared in the conversation, and then tying it all back to You know, is it a governance? Is it a membership NFT? Is it a gaming NFT? Come from, I guess, the technical side. And in parallel, there's a separate conversation that needs to happen with the designers.
Yep.
And amassing those individuals. I think Dim, I don't want to steal your thunder because I know you've been driving some of those conversations and coordinating.
Here I actually haven't, but I was thinking that we should set up time maybe tomorrow with designers to just start moving ahead.
So this is something that will be designed in-house?
I think we could put up a bounty, but let's see if there's an internal. I think there was someone that was interested in doing it. I remember the comments here in the live chat. Somebody said on
I think
Tuesday.
it was Star Ayushi, if memory
Yep,
serves.
it was Star Ayush, correct. And I know we also throw things out there and put people's names into the hat without actually having confirmed with them, like Jack Rees. But yeah, I just think the conversation, let's get it started so that we know what the bounty is, because just creating
Yeah,
a
let's.
bounty.
I think a bounty is a good idea here because it adds a lot of it creates a lot of interest around what we're building, and I think we should push it as a bounty for anybody that wants to do it.
Yeah, and it gets the momentum behind the whole bounty conversation. You know, 2 or 3
Yeah.
bounties within the span of a couple of weeks is a good sign for the rest of the community to see what bounties look like, as God's Love was calling out before, and gives us an opportunity to really explore fixing the bounties so that they work as best as possible. On
And
top
also
of just
letting the community vote on different designs. It's something very interesting.
Yeah. It's a nice
I like it.
community engaging project, especially just if we're able just to, put a bounty out there to help us decide the theme or the motto, and then we can
Hmm.
build it from there, especially while we're still trying to develop or understand the capabilities from the utility side. In the
yeah,
meantime, we can, maybe put out a bounty, just say, what do you think a grape NFT will look like? And kind of a designer competition. People can,
Yeah,
it would be open to everyone, I assume.
I think so. I think so. It would create a good interest from outside. I'm sure it
Yeah.
will.
yeah, but I do think that we need to frame it within the context of what's technically feasible, because I'm pretty sure ideas are going to fly left, right, and center. So
Well, where would the submission be though? For if somebody wanted to, I drew this. This is what I think grape NFT looks like. Where do I submit it?
it's a great question. I don't have an answer for that.
I don't know how. What are they going to submit, Dinah? Since you have some experience there, Discourse, would they submit a sample?
What do you mean?
I mean, what would they submit as a design? Would they just submit a sample? Like, would they just get, send a couple of designs of an NFT that they're thinking? Like,
So at
what
least in
would
my
they
head,
submit?
it's literally because there were so many ideas that were brought up, whether it's 3D, pixelated. I doubt pixelated will go that route. But
Mhm.
say someone submits it, we're not trying to ask them to develop an entire NFT with attributes and skins. It's just what is going to be the basis, and then we can build it from there. Like if I bring a stick figure and I want to submit a stick figure for the Grape NFT, I would submit it, whether it's a channel here on Discord, or is it a place on our marketplace submission, or is it on Discourse. I don't know where the submission is, but in my head, it's just a designer bringing, whatever, a short GIF of their NFT that they created, or just the drawing itself.
Guys, in my opinion, this conversation can go into a billion directions. So the more I think about it, the more I hear about what we're talking about, the more I tend to think that possibly we need like a team to manage this, to lead the conversation and narrow down topics and move this forward. Because if we put like all of us in a room, We'll never agree on something. So we need to, it's human nature. We have different tastes, different ideas of what we want to do. Some of us more defined, some of us less defined. So I tend to think that we might need a project management team for this, a task force, so to speak, to do
Did we get
to
it from
drive.
the designer?
Mhm.
Sorry.
What do you mean?
Is this something we can like task or see if any of the designers would be willing to
I
run with?
think a bounty like Dean just posted, I was just thinking about this. It's more appropriate just for to start for the design and the lore and all that. But we need to structure our steps and our thought process in order to proceed.
Yeah, my opinion is that regardless of the bounty, I do think we need to have the technical conversation first, just so that we can get things down in
Yeah.
terms of like setting
Yeah.
the outer limits of what's possible, what's not, and that way the general conversation around the NFT can have.
We'll just waste time.
Yeah, the design side, sure, it's great to move that forward as a bounty and really get the community engaged. So I
Yep.
think that's 100%. But separating those two topics, just from a process perspective, you know, defining whether it's a PFP or a generative or a gaming NFT, like those are things that I can't answer without having the technical conversation. I think membership and governance and PFP were things that we were really exploring on the last couple of calls. And
Okay.
if you tell the designers to put something forward, what are they designing for? Are they designing a PFP? I think we just need to outline that as clearly as possible to let it ruminate.
I get it. Do you just want to decide on a time? We can put it up as a Discord event, and people that are interested can join in that discussion because Kozlov DAO is right. It should be in an open forum.
Well,
Yeah, and it's an opportunity to get new members to join. We can do it as an event, right? So we can push out like a tweet saying, guys, we're creating we're discussing an NFT. Come learn how exactly. That's good, and people from our community will take a chance and discuss on the technicals. So we can agree on a time right now and see if that works.
before we move forward, I want to acknowledge and give a question to Dean and Billy. What are your thoughts on us moving forward on this, and how would you approach it?
I would really just focus on the fact that, like last time we talked about how to separate these two. We did separate these two. It sounds like we're trying to merge them back again, where it's like, well, we need to know what we're designing, and so yeah, I'm much more of a fan of keeping it separate. Let's have a design discussion separate from a technical one. I understand how those can be coupled together. I 100% do. I As long as there's some sort of deadline that's set for whatever mode we move forward with in, I think that would be the best. To kind of zoom out, we would be compounding on the fact that we've never seen a bounty before, and now we're going to require to have a technical discussion that will have to end up becoming a bounty when we really haven't done bounties. But it kind of snowballs into something that I feel like we won't see an end to in the short term. Whereas like a design decision, I think is something that we can 100% move forward on, and I think that would be great progress in moving us into something. The technical aspects, it's an entire, like, communities are built on that, right? So I would continue keeping them separate as we had discussed last time. I 100% see the influence that they can have on each other, but that's how I would approach it.
Yeah, I don't know if I made it seem that I wanted to combine them again. I thought they should 100% be separate, but a conversation we can get something started for designers while continuing to have a separate conversation on utility. But I do see what you mean. A bounty hasn't been put forth, and we're talking about putting one of these up. Some have been made, but that's also another question that I had for uh, on the DAO board call is where do we submit these bounties?
Should we just have a form for general bounty submission?
A type form?
I don't know. Yeah, something like that. And then we can be posting these on Gitbook on a weekly basis for anybody for quick reference. And there can be discussions on that specific channel on Discord.
Can do that, but I wouldn't rely on it. So
Yeah, quick question about that, because I was thinking about it. Say somebody puts forward a bounty and they say, I want 100,000 grape, right? Before there's actually any allocation for it, which means that should we define the pool ahead of time so that the community can have the allocation of bounty rewards, or do we have to ask for the bounty reward for every bounty every single time the bounties appear? That's one of the things that I've been thinking about in terms of this process with the on-chain vote right now. And I know we said from last call, but I was really to facilitate what you're talking about, and just to make sure that it's possible for somebody to just submit and know that there's something there that they could utilize.
well, it depends on the bounty itself, right? So if we don't know what bounty to expect, how can we allocate something towards it?
Right. It's kind of the double-edged sword that I'm trying to make sure. All I want to do is set up a very simple process to make sure that when the bounty appears, if somebody starts moving forward on it, will they get rewarded? The integrity of the bounty rewarding is the important thing, and I don't want this to continuously fall on the DAO board with the strategic fund to do time.
I could see us make like some blueprints. So like we just allocate a certain amount towards a sub DAO or a direction, and we say like, yeah, basically what Dean says, like have a design bounty for 50,000 grape, and the proposal that fills the bounty needs to be geared towards that. So if it's just design a stick figure, then obviously it wouldn't pass for that bounty pool. But so that people know how much is available for a specific area, I can see us doing that. And if someone comes up with a different idea, we can choose a separate amount or a different amount.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of confused. I thought the on-chain vote was setting apart 400K for bounties.
Yeah, it's a start, right?
Right, and it only takes into account the one bounty that we've come up with so far for the completion reward. The other 200K is for creation rewards. So people can create bounties, right? Like we want to reward people who create them, and we want to, and then there's an amount of rewards that we don't know how much they want to allocate for each bounty, etc. I think this comes back to, let's define at a certain point in time, potentially, how much we want allocated to the pool for bounties. And if we needed additional, or do we just say all grape that exists? Because it's, I think there's a fiscal responsibility, not fiscal.
Wait, we're so this might be an error on my part. granting Grape for just creating a bounty. I thought it was dependent on like we deciding to go to the next step, like defining it like okay,
Guys,
this
there are 5 of you on the board, and only one of you is saying that it has to stick to this use. I'm seeing Dim, Taki, Crypto, Dyna. You're all saying let's use the 400,000. Like, don't don't get stuck in semantics. You guys get to choose this. It's you 5 together.
The vote is for allocation purposes, so that we are okay with using those 400k for bounties. So
Right. So, Paul, what was the issue with the outline that I gave about how people can propose and where we push these bounties?
I have no issue with it.
Oh, okay. Because I thought you said I thought you were
Since
about.
we can do that, but I wouldn't rely on it.
Yeah.
That people
What do you
use
mean?
it.
What do
That
you mean you
people
wouldn't rely on it?
that people really use it in order to propose something.
Oh. I mean, what's the alternative? Discord and propose something there.
Yeah, maybe we can do
Okay.
both. So
Yeah,
it's
we can do both,
yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
We can open up a discourse category for bounties that people can submit through discourse if we like.
Okay. That's fine
Right.
initially.
Okay.
I'll work on that to get it in by Tuesday's call.
All right. I kind of took us on a tangent there. I guess we could just proceed on to the emissions for February and March. I know we discussed it briefly before the DAO call.
Yeah. So what we can do here, Diner and I have started doing is taking all the new proposed emissions by each sub-DAO that have, most have decreased their emissions by a significant amount. What we will do is just push these on Discourse once we have a definitive list ready. Unless you guys have something else to propose. So we can finish off with that because we really don't want to be spending time on any specific allocation and then sub-DAO discussions there.
So I
With
think
the
as
hope
mentioned.
that it passes.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's it. Nothing else.
Yeah, I think as mentioned before, I think maybe you and I can do a separate call, really evaluate this, and as mentioned by Dean, look at the names, see who we'd want to allocate, and try to move on from there.
I have
See
another
what
idea.
name.
But maybe what we can do to kind of combine this is we could go back and see who's still here. Like who still has these roles, who still is active in the community. But then it becomes a bit more, us deciding who's getting what. But do you get what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I get
if
what you mean.
designers back
I
in,
like that. Yeah,
February,
But
like if we have
then,
I like
designers back
that.
in February, like
yeah,
and people have left. Like, there's no reason for us to allocate that amount. Like, what are you going to do with that amount? We know you're going to sell. You're not using this for voting.
well, here's the
And
thing,
also, if
like
someone
we have the
left,
voting power, so
yeah, but
they
if
have them.
someone left, and even if they should have gotten something out of February or March, and they left and didn't even fight for it or voice their opinion, then
exactly.
what? Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So then this becomes a bit more tricky in the evaluation, but I think it's DAO board. DAO board. Let's discuss it. Let's make it. Okay, Dean is excited.
I
But
can help you when
it makes a lot of sense.
you make a call. I
Yeah,
can join you.
let's do a call us 5, push a definitive
Yeah.
list, and be like, guys, we are a group that is very active in our community. We are proposing that people that get rewarded are people that are still here with us, because they have shown the commitment during adversity in the past 2 months, and we're not going to reward somebody that has lost their roles, that has given up. Makes sense to me, and that also decreases the amount of emissions that we have to give out even more. So let's do that.
Yes.
Perfect. Finally, some headway there. That's good. I see the light at the end of the tunnel with these emissions.
Great, great. So we'll organize a call between all 5 of us, if you say, or I don't.
I think it's a decision that we should make. All the 5 of us.
Maybe you and I can meet together. We put something forward, and then like we'll talk after we get a finalized
Sure.
version for the full 5.
Sure.
Sure, works as well.
You
Yeah.
Dinah just wants more time with me exclusively. That's fine.
Yeah.
Of course,
I
yeah. Yeah, with
Don't
DGen
worry.
plays.
I
I
figured.
appreciate the support, man. Always.
Apologies for that, by the way.
Next would be the DAO membership metrics. Dim.
I added that. Maybe you're asking yourself, Dim, why I added it. You're putting everything on discourse, and I just want to have like a little spotlight on it. So maybe that we can decide how we continue, or if you need help, or if you should expand on that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just doing this. I'm just adding every single week. I'll be adding the numbers for reference for anybody that wants to use them or have a look. It's important for all of us to have an understanding of what's going on. Yeah. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. Like it's. I don't think there's something I can talk about there. I'm fine with just continue doing it. Nothing else. Like that's that. But it just these are numbers that we need to be taking into consideration when making decisions. So yeah, that's why I have them there.
Okay, cool. Was just a reminder, so everybody knows that they are available. So
yeah, thanks. Perfect. And Archimedes is doing the same thing with I guess Writer in Red. So Archimedes, do you think that you can be doing the same thing? I think it would be good if we do that every week. We just push some numbers on Discourse for people to see.
Yeah. I mean, I have them in the spreadsheet that I've been updating, so it's not a problem to just copy them into a discourse and have them documented. But I'll just share the spreadsheet again.
Perfect. All right. Yeah, that'd be great if you can do that.
Yeah, something like this.
And so
It
that
also.
way.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say it makes sense for like when we hit milestones like this. I think it was a week or 2 ago. What was it, Archimedes, where we saw a 25% increase in realms?
Yep.
Like that is like something we should like pay more attention to and announce, or like I'm here saying we should have an updates channel under announcements. Update, here's our newsletter, here's the newest bounty that we're pushing forward, or uh welcoming members into the DAO, something like that. Because even with these metrics, it feels like it would be nice to have an update, even if it's right before the Sunday call. We've seen an increase in memberships or average voters.
And these are usually cases for celebration, so we should be celebrating these kind of we should be celebrating these kind of things because we usually focus on the things that need fixing. We don't focus on or talk about things that are going really well and so strengthen our community. So this data helps us do that.
Yeah. Cool. If it's just a matter of getting it into a format where people can gain access to it. I also think Billy had made a great suggestion last week, which I totally glossed over, which is just get it into the actual documentation. Docs the docs in Gitbook. Might be a good place to just post this
Oh,
every week, I
once
guess.
a month.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll also get into discourse just for documentation's sake.
Okay. The next topic. Are we done with membership metrics?
Yep.
All right. Our next topic is DAO task and skill roles. This is something we've touched base on a number of times throughout the conversation today. Yeah, we have almost solidifying our bounty hunters. Abbott Learner is already doing an amazing job with the updates for removals. I even pinged him. I'm not sure if that got resolved, but one of the researchers was having an issue logging into discourse, and for me, I knew who the point of contact was other than like someone on the DAO board. It was really nice just to ping Avid Learner. Avid Learner like took care of it. So is there anything, is there another update you have on this, Dim?
Nothing else there. I just the process. That's just the process. I feel it's going well. Just a thing. I think I discussed it with you on the missions for DAO Core. Since it's something that requires this kind of a process and, until all positions are kind of filled. I'm keeping notes of who is joining and when and taking on this kind of responsibility, and we will be adjusting the mission amounts accordingly. If we continue using epochs as a reference point. So yeah, I'm just saying that even if you join for half a month, you will receive half the emissions allocated there. Just a clarification on that.
Also, a quick shout out to other members that have stepped up to the plate and has shown interest. Writer in Red, I had a great conversation with him about governance metrics and trying to really push the narrative forward and have more around that, because we've already established certain metrics we can get, and there are other things that we could potentially do with the data and information that might be useful for the community. So really appreciate Writer in Red taking on the mantle and the challenge to help with that, and looking forward to moving it forward with him, because it'll be there. I'll continue to be a backup in that capacity and make sure that if there's any documentation metrics that need to be put on Gitbook or anything like that, we'll work together on that.
And also shout out to another very active new member. I see here, George and Machine. I just want to give a special shout out there.
George the Machine is amazing, dude. This guy.
Like, I think he's obsessed with bounties, so I guess we'll see some bounties being pushed by him. So.
Shit, sorry. I was not expecting that as a response, but
that's probably George. I don't know.
I'm distracted right now with George Costanza. What's up, Barn Dog?
It sounded like a bit of a pause. Have we got time? I've just had something we've finished up tonight, a bit of a proposal for Grape Gaming Council.
Go for it.
Yeah, sorry. No, I'm just getting the links out. So I've just linked in
good.
a document quickly in the live chat, just regarding something we're already using at the Gaming Council. We got one asset from Step M, which is Walker, a Genesis sneaker. It's locked for 3 months. We can't do anything with it bar use it. We can rent it to someone or get someone to use it as like a earning 10 GST thing. But what I've done was put 2 extra assets of my own to it, and that gives it a higher earning capacity. And we've been using that to seed the Gaming Council. It doesn't have a lot in there at the moment. There's 10 Solana and some extra things. But the proposal here is to get additional Solana to grow that vault to then allow the gaming council to use those funds to get different games, new NFTs, new projects, and just use it to be a good thing for it. So in the proposal, you're going to see two different sets of figures. So it can show a rough breakdown of what the game earns. Obviously, I know a little bit about Step N, and I look at sneakers pretty much all day long. So the way the game works is if you have 1 to 2 sneakers, you get a certain amount of energy and earnings. 3 to 8, you get more, and then 9, you get more again. So working on 9 common sneakers, they're around 12 Solana for the commons each. But because we've got 3, we could start from 6 additional to bump that up, and the actual revenue that could bring in would be quite useful to allow us to start doing something and getting games, whether it's new games, whether it's old games that are existing, and try to give more options for the organisers, get into new games, all these kinds of things. So there's an actual physical aspect to needing to run that asset base as well. So this has to be considered. So if we do 1 vault, obviously I'm managing 1 at the moment. It's only 20 minutes a day, but going to 9 means it's 45 minutes a day. If we would to go for more funding to do 2 vaults, then we would need to find a second person to physically use these assets. So, I mean, ultimately, the more funds we can earn, the better. But yeah, it's just something that I'll put on Realms if need be, not Realms, on Discourse. But we just finished it up tonight. We had a chat in our Sunday night about it.
Beautiful, man. That's
So
a great opportunity.
to clarify a little bit more, the NFT we got from Step N is a Genesis NFT. They're selling for around 100 Solana. The earning capacity obviously doesn't come anywhere near what 100 Solana would be worth elsewhere. But yeah, so what the Gaming Council is doing at the moment is it pays 1.5 Solana to the CC sub DAO for additional work, additional requests. But yeah, the whole concept is this could seed us to get more games, to do more things. And there's a myriad of choices of games to pick from. It's not necessarily to grow out more Step N sneakers. Obviously, there are strategies you can do exactly that, but a lot of us run our own sneakers anyway. Of course, you know, we run our own assets. I do 3 hours a day already myself. I don't want to take too much credit from this too. So it's God's Love has really put forward a lot of work to helping this, and he's a great asset. Archimedes, you can't have him. He's ours. You can keep your bounty. You can find someone else. So what I really want to go on at the moment is we've got a few good people, really good people, putting their hands up to actually help the Gaming Council. We're talking about pivoting and actually soaking in some of the stuff and the work that we've done. There's hundreds of games building out. We're struggling with people physically wanting to play games. It's been a lot of people wanting free assets and free NFTs. But what we can actually do is by having this go forward is we can get different games. We can buy 10 fishing rods for DeFi land and start doing fishing competitions, or we can buy. There's several other games that we could buy that are cheaper assets, and we can rent those to our members for free, just to do events for the organisers to start doing these Web 3.0. So, you know, there's a lot that it can do going forward, and it's just that because the sneaker base is, you know, it's simple, it's there, it's got proven results. Obviously, there's a lot of us that are very heavy into it, and you know, as a DAO, we're going to be doing an event in Athens for it. So, Taki's helping me with that, and it's huge. You know, not all gaming is with a keyboard and mouse. Is something I'm kind of saying at the moment. I'm loving it. Like I'm hooked. I'm going to be jogging around the world with Barn Dog. So that's something that I'll aim. I'm doing a marathon in July. It's really it's got me.
Great to see. Just yeah, I was expecting that proposal, so thanks to you,
So-
Barn Dog and DAO.
It's got option 1 and 2. We could clarify that down to less as well, because the assets are roughly 12 Solana each at the moment, for the cheapest ones to get, and that's all we need to fill out this vault because we've got good earning assets in it for the commons, that is. So you know we could get away with getting 60 to 70 Solana, and that could get that asset to 9 running. And you can see the maths on it there. Obviously, it's on a token that goes up and down in price, so it's just good to have at least some baseline ideas of what they can earn.
Yeah, perfect. And I like the fact that with the revenue on this, you guys are gonna have capital to play with other games, and yeah, just get us more involved with everything happening on Solana Gaming.
So do I need to then put that onto discourse, or is there a way to fast track that to a vote?
I think we can fast track to a vote. There's no need for a discussion, in my opinion, because you have the expertise as a gaming council, and I think we can move forward directly, unless somebody has a strong opinion on one of the two strategies you've outlined.
I mainly want to make sure that we're not pushing for too much, and you know what I mean, like 70, 60, 70 would get us to that 9 asset vault, but there's reasons being is we don't have to go 2 lots of 9. We could go a 9 and a 3, and that's a workable, obviously that earns, it all earns. There are ways to continue the grease that, and push into but it's about actually seeding for more different games and different strategies within.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I think in the treasury we have 135 SOL, 120 staked,
Yeah.
15
There's a bunch of
liquid, and another 2,000 in USDC if we needed to convert it to SOL for whatever reason. That's, roughly 150.
All right, so we have these. Okay, we have the capital to do that easily. Georgian machine pushing.
Who is that?
What do you mean? Who is that? That's me.
That's you. Dude, I don't know what you look like.
Seriously, man. All this time.
It's Star Ayush, man. He made some of the
It's not
best
you.
stuff ever.
Who is
Oh,
this
that's
guy?
hilarious. Oh man, it's good stuff.
All right. So let's push that to a vote. I think directly. Like, I don't think doing it on Discourse will give us any merit there.
Get more for input, but if you don't need more input, I'd also put it up for vote. So
Cool. So
if you want
can
to
handle
continue,
that. You can handle that, then,
just
Dim.
ping
Is that
me.
all right?
Yeah. Let's the board will handle it, and we'll push it for a vote then.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, lads.
Thanks, man.
Cheers, man, and thank you for the hard work. I'm not trying to poach anybody. I just want a full disclosure.
No, you can't poach him. He's ours. He will become our, and in saying that, we are going to want one tier above God's love. So it's really cool to have people that are actually genuinely keen. God's love. Porter's another big one that's come in of recent and been really great for the gaming council. Fresh blood. These people want to actually be streamers, and it's not about money. It's about actually playing games and stuff. So it's really cool to have fresh faces pushing and helping. And yeah, it's nice. Like we've got a heap of big games that have come through our doors, but we've never really captured and been playing them. But this year we're having a lot of games coming live and playable, but it's good to finally start seeing some action happen.
One question I have that I'm posing to the DAO board, as well as you, Barn Dog, here is, what role can we give God's love? Because I want to try and give him something that, ensures that we're keeping track of that.
Ideally, he should have gaming council tag. Ideally, this is where we should be making the sub. We need to probably become a sub DAO. Has he got gaming council? He's got a gaming council tag. Ideally, we start to become an independent sub DAO and pay those funds. So last month, Riptide earned 1 additional Solana for running the Grape stable. We need to make that a pay itself, but the game hasn't started yet, so we're using the gaming council funds, which are coming from these Stefan sneakers already. But this is something that we need to talk about as a gaming council, is to get these goals and ethos and get down that that stuff, so we're not relying on Grape payments.
I hear you. Sounds like we just need to define the role and make sure that it's getting factored into any emissions discussions for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously the emissions have been a bit of a shit fight for the last 2 months, and it would be cool to make it so it's independent. You know, it's not a matter of I don't care what grape I'm making personally, but if there's people that are genuinely happy and keen to help push some of these games in, fuck yeah, let's we can make that happen from that. And I mean, in the game for Step N, for example, I've got runners and joggers, and the runners you're physically running, but you earn more money for it. So I use runners on the Grape account, so I can try to squeeze as much out of it. But you know, like it's cool that it's going to someone that deserves it. So we haven't set any figures. Well, there's no money going out to individual people. It was just the only one that's gone is Riptide for running the stable, and he more than earns the one Solana we gave him for March, and we'll bump that up in April. But you know, that's one of our biggest initiatives we've done for something being photo finish with the 500 Solana, 510, 26 members. You know, like we need to make sure we reward these people.
100%. That's definitely a topic I think we need to bring up on Tuesday's call, guys. If we can figure that out and put something forward that's quick and nimble.
Yeah.
What we're
and the
aiming for is
proposal-
ultimately is if we can make the gaming council self-sufficient, at least then to be able to buy new NFTs, and this will do it. Like we've got 100 to 150 at most worth Solana worth of shit, but that's all been donated. We've never ever had any funds or anything. That's just through work I've done. So it's it would be, this gives us something to fund and actually push forward.
Yeah, no, for the March emissions we've talked about, Diner and I will push 7.5 for each, and then April for this month. Obviously, we're gonna rediscuss and see where we stand. But I think that's just a good start.
Oh, that's all I got. Thanks, lads.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bardock. Yeah, I think this past couple of epochs has been very, very revealing. There's been a lot of gems that have come out on Grape, which is really nice to see. Topic number 9, NFT giveaway for Realms voting activity. Taki?
So, do you wanna take it?
Yeah, so we're basically requesting for the NFT Council to give us out some of the NFTs that were previously discussed of being given away or being burned for us. The goal is to use them as incentives in our realms voting, so that for each epoch we do some giveaways for these NFTs, but not only for the super low cost ones that we discussed, but also for some of some slightly greater value. So the rough plan is for every, let's say, 10 super low value NFTs, we get one of value for half a soul or something. And we do a lottery at the end of every epoch. And one of the active voters of the one of the voters in Realms gets to win those. I posted the whole proposal as well.
Yeah. Do you guys want to choose the NFTs, or you just want me to choose them and send them to your
Uh,
squad?
We trust the discretion of the NFT Council for what is best. We just need to figure out the numbers.
Πώς τα λες έτσι?
Talitelia, man, I love it.
Yeah, just in like one. If you send us like 22 of those with some value, I don't know, half a soul, something like that. So, or one soul, so it becomes a bit interesting.
I'm gonna give you guys the ones that I think will go up to 1 soul.
That's good.
We have a lot of ones I think can go up to 1 soul.
Yeah,
Can you guys
by,
do me a
and
favor?
by the And by the end of the year, we should put out the monkey as well in the giveaway.
The monkey's already listed to sale.
Okay, if it's not yet sold by then.
Yeah, if it's not sold by then, that means the monkey's not worth much, man. Do me a favor. Can you guys put the address, the squad's address? Because I can't see your, like, I don't know your, it's not one of my squads, so I don't know your squad address.
I'll grab it in a sec.
Yeah, actually, let's, it would be useful to have that, the link to your squad somewhere. That way anybody can see what's in that and what you guys are voting on.
Yeah, I think I put it
Yeah,
in the DAO board channel, but I need to put it in a more public place.
No,
Is-
my bad for not checking first.
this is a perfect transition into our final topic. On 37K for previous events. Taki? He appears to be writing something.
I'm just trying to familiarize myself with squads. So I'm just checking whether the one they posted is correct. So yeah, the 37K. It turns out that for the 160K that we needed that got passed onto a vote, there were 37K missing because the 160K were not enough to finish with the payments. There were some later submissions in the document in the Grape emissions, which we missed. So we decided to use the emergency fund on this. We did a squad about this. There were some different opinions, so I'm more than happy to discuss them here. But I just wanted to close the prices emissions on this. So the transaction got voted in, and these prices will be sent out, and we're finished up with March.
Yeah, as I said, I can see the impulse why you propose to use the emergency fund. But as I said, for me, the emergency fund wasn't for that specifically because it's nothing time sensitive. I also understand that we want to just get rid of it. So basically, I'd actually found it better if we talked about that during this call and then did it with the emergency fund, because then I'd also voted yes, because then I would have known that this is what the DAO wants. For me, it's like if I vote yes or no for use of the emergency fund, it's basically, is it something that the DAO decided on, yes or no? And is it something that if we'd use our normal ways, doing a normal vote like 6 days and putting together a proposal would take too much time. So then it's a case for the emergency fund for me. That's the case, or only in this case I'd vote in squads for yes. So this wasn't something that was basically approved by the DAO. So yeah, I'd love some clarification on that by other members.
Do I count as another member?
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Bro.
Who's that, George?
It's me, George. I think the way you guys used this was awesome. Like, I didn't even know this was an issue, which, the fact that you had a problem, I didn't even know. Like, this is the first time I'm hearing that there was outstanding emissions. There was a vote previously that we said, hey, we got to stick to our moral code. And then, you know what? You guys said, look, instead of us making a whole discussion and you finished it. I applaud the use. I understand that it's not a a poster example of what an emergency is, but maybe we need to change some of our definitions. For me, the fact that it didn't have to occupy time, and I think overwhelmingly everybody would have agreed that we have to continue the spirit of we stick to our promises. Bravo, applause all around. I'm very, very impressed with the use of that. I think it was great.
That's basically what I meant. If we change the premise, or if we say it's kind of also a get rid of it already fund, then okay. So whenever the DAO board thinks that this is the decision the DAO would make, then we can use the emergency fund. Sure, I'm all for it because it takes time, and that's basically what you said, Taki, and I totally understand your reasoning behind it. But for me, it wasn't something that the emergency fund was created for. So if we change that, I'm totally fine with it.
Look, I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, we were talking about an amount that for me, it did not deserve the kind of time and effort and energy spent among the other sea of tasks that we have to deal with. So
I know.
That's why I
But
wanted to approach it like this.
I'd also, for me, it's also important that the DAO knows that we only use the fund for what it is intended for. So they can be sure that we won't use it just to make our lives easier.
I would change the name
No.
to Agility Fund then, not Emergency
Sure.
Fund.
Sure.
Yeah, that sounds
It
good.
was always strategic funded. The emergency part was I've labeled it that way in the documentation right now that I put it in, just so that people know which one we're talking about. But yeah, it's fine. And I'm in agreement, Taiki, with the approach, because sure, the proposal that went forward for the future emissions of prize rewards was a problem. The past emissions that required that we adhere to things that we're already committed to are things that we just need to live up to what we promise, is the only thing that I think there.
I see there's a comment about from Raiden Red that there should be some negative consequences for the sub-DAO that miscalculated this. Okay, what would be the negative consequences that you would propose for a mistake?
We rephrase it to consequences.
Delay their emission.
We're already doing that.
Like everyone else.
I know it's. I think it's
It's already
laughable.
been
Like,
handled.
I know.
yeah, like
No, but I get the
and-
idea because it's we need to make sure that this doesn't happen again, because actually it's like we approved 160K and it's more like 200K. So it's percentage wise not something I would just gloss over. So we need to make sure that this doesn't happen again, basically.
And just I want to make sure we're like 100% on the math at this point. It's like we're done. This awkward silence.
No, we basically need to have steps in place or things in place that maybe it's checked again by someone else. So I don't know.
My question is: do we have any confidence that this is the last time we're going to discuss the prize emissions for the
I hope
previous
so.
Yeah, I would hope so too.
Taki, do you think that it's possible there's a lurking emission prize that hasn't been brought up?
No, I'm positive. And about the mistakes and all that, to a great extent, this comes down to us. When I say us, let's say the team or the sub-DAO leaders and all that, having to check every action of a community member that has received some responsibility on completing a task. If we're going to be to march towards decentralization and not having things depend from the members of the team or a particular number of people, then yes, I suppose this should not happen again. But on the other hand, we should extend some trust, and with that trust come some mishaps. So I view it like this. I'm positive this will not happen again, and that we learn from our mistake. And I will leave it at that at this point, personally. Because there's no use if we extend responsibilities and tasks to community members if at the end of the day we have to check and double check every decision and every task completed that has been done correctly. If it were the case, then there's no point of delegating tasks.
Yeah, and I also think it was a mistake because of we're kind of in this weird transition as well. So I think it's been rectified, and I was just more along the lines of, let's move on into things that require our attention, looking towards the future. Right? Is there any last minute comments on this? We're gonna rename it to the the agility fund, strategic agility fund.
Sure.
Okay. Because I think that fits perfectly. This is for the flow of the ecosystem.
Sounds good.
So before we move on we have a couple other things that we can talk about. I want to ask anyone in the audience, is there something you wanted to talk about that wasn't brought up today that we might have glossed over?
You basically have a whole bunch of things that I didn't put on the primary agenda, but something like removal of Grape access or services from dubious projects. That's something I also put on the DAO board agenda, but we discussed it briefly, but we wanted to raise it during the call. Is it something worth investing time? But it surely should be. But on the other hand, it's no. I can see this becoming something that potentially is kind of frustrating and also a bigger issue. Yeah. Let me grab the link real quick.
So I think the issue here was someone in the community brought it up, and made a statement or two about it.
Yeah,
But
Speedy. It was Speedy.
yeah, it just
And it's
go ahead.
yeah, it I feel it shouldn't be something that we just ignore, but on the other hand, it's no easy answer to those questions. But if a member who invests time and researches probable, rug pulls or dangerous quote unquote projects that we are in basically they are basically using our services, and so we are in danger of getting pulled into something. We should at least try and figure out if there is some merit to it.
I'd like to also, because not only, was this comment explicitly tagging me, but also both Speedy and TMNX went on an attack on me on Twitter, where they referred to me as cowardly for some reason or whatnot. Even though you can see in this, I explicitly told him to discuss it in public. So
Yeah, it shouldn't be your responsibility.
that's the thing. I gotta be honest, man. The fact that after I was approached with this, and I said, discuss it publicly. We're not central. You guys see, I mean, obviously that's what went down. He reached out to me. I said, you want to, you bring it up to Grape. And then after it was brought up, instead of trying to champion it within our community as they should have, they then went on a personal attack directly on me and me alone on Twitter. So personally, looking at the approach, this is not somebody trying to do the right thing. Like Saint Eclectic, he goes through a shitload of research, doesn't try to bully people into taking a position, because that's what that was. They were trying to bully me into taking a position. Do I give a shit about Lick? I don't care. I have zero position or affiliation. They can go fuck themselves for all I care. I don't know them. I'm not gonna sit and die on any hill protecting Lick. But what I am not gonna do is have somebody bully me to then make an attack on somebody else. I think in this situation, if they've researched it and they think justice needs to be done, they need to campaign for it within our community. Now, at the end of the day, this is decentralization, permissionlessness. Us now becoming an arbiter of truth. That's not my position, but we're a DAO. So the correct thing they should do is argue it, not we cowardly. What the people that are cowardly here are those two, because instead of trying to stand up for what they believe in and discuss it, they just went on an attack in the weakest way possible to try to coerce me to, because obviously I have a large voice enough where if I say something, maybe it'll do something. But instead of doing the hard work, they took the cowardly approach and tried to bully me into it. That's my belief. I will vote, based on facts, not on emotion, and not trying to bully me.
100%. And I have to say that the minute I saw this bullshit appear, in a tweet, I immediately started looking at this as they're trying to draw parallels between all these other projects, blah blah blah, and really all they're doing, in reality, is just trying to appear. Right? This is if you ask me, it's a marketing stunt by two very what we believed to be in the past valued members. That one of them was a researcher, for fuck's sake. Didn't do a lot of research here, and I personally had an opinion on the matter, and thought that their approach was very deceptive to try and call you out specifically. First of all, second of all, and probably more importantly, Grape is a verification tool. Is like Discord, it's like Twitter, it's a service. You can't blame the service for how it's used, right? And to connect the dots on something that doesn't even exist. Grape verification is a tooling mechanism that's put onto a Discord, and we support it for free, complimentary, I should say. And at the time, people come through, and there are projects that approach us, and they appear, well intentioned, and people lie, and we're all susceptible to being deceived. We're all human, and if there was any inkling or suspicion of the fact that there would be a project that would approach Grape for support, and we suggested or found that it's possible that they could be a rug pull, we have avoided projects like that, guys. I just want to be clear. We have a community maintained open source list of domains that we're trying to make sure people are aware of what's a scam and what's not. Knowledge is power. There's no knowledge in this update that I can use to be able to say that I can help prevent something like this in the future. And all I see it as is Dean has a lot of followers on Twitter, and these two are just taking a crack at trying to get more followers, to be honest. If I have to be totally objective about
Wait,
what that
what CryptoPause? What would you like to see happen now?
It's more about how what our standing is basically, or what do we, whether we have criteria, which projects we accept, which not, and if there should be a point when we say, or once something happens, should we say we withdraw our service, or is something is there some point where we say we won't provide our services to a project that is
So guys,
not only
just
suspicious,
but
but
sorry.
just before we go too far into a direction I don't think is a productive use of time, we've over 2 months ago said that we're open sourcing all our tools. There is literally nothing we'll be able to do. So if you guys want to have a discussion about should we work on open sourcing tools, should we provide grants for open source? No, because that's it. You cannot stop service to open source. Like
we can stop actively helping.
This is a Web 2 way of thinking, right? Like I think it's just a waste of time to discuss any evaluation when, like, all of a sudden we're going to add work and forget the fact that it's against my ethics on how, you know, open source and Web3 should be. We're already going in that direction.
Maybe I made it not that clear, because it's not for me. For me, my goal is not that we have more work to do and basically vet projects and continuously doing so. It's more that we need to be in line with what we're standing for, and basically that every member is comfortable with standing behind that, and then also defending Grape, because Archimedes, you said that basically you can't fault a service for providing something. Like you can't blame Twitter
literally
for
no
doing
one
something.
is talking about this.
People do that. So
can I just say one
there
thing?
are two dudes who they can't get anybody to listen to them. Not our entire community ignored it. The fact that we're discussing
it's not about
this,
them.
No, but like if they took it seriously, they would have put a proposal for it. They would have taken the time. I feel like it's like one of these things like, oh, I don't like this guy, so I'm going to say something bad about him and then go about my business. There are massive ramifications. There are massive ramifications that you know, some people do not take into account. I literally have no idea what they're about, the Lick guys. No idea. I don't. Okay, and I'm not endorsing them, and I'm not damning them, because you know what? At the end of the day, if I don't have evidence, I don't want to take somebody out of their livelihood. This is serious shit. Okay, and it's not
exactly
our
what I mean.
We've never stepped up to have that be our place. But now here we are using this stage to focus on two members who are barely putting the effort to make their case. And just because they attacked me on Twitter, I didn't respond to it because, look, it's very obvious that they have an agenda. When I said discuss it publicly, and then they call me cowardly. What the fuck? It's obvious you guys are trying to push an agenda. Because if he was brave, he would have said, you know, I told Dean privately, but he told me to go public. But now I'm going to call him a coward. Oh, but shit, this doesn't make any logic anymore. Fuck my argument. I get very animated about this because obviously, one, somebody spoke very negatively about me publicly. And you know what? Maybe we should discuss how we as members treat each other. Would it be okay for them to attack CryptoPause on Twitter? Would we be okay with us attacking each other like that? We have rules in here. I don't want to go in that route. I am not that kind of person. But for me, it's more if somebody else had been attacked, that would have been a bigger issue for me. If another community member is attacked by another community member publicly or in that kind of way, that would have been a big issue. This thing about Lick, I can't believe it even exists. We don't talk about them. We don't talk about them anywhere. We don't integrate with any of their tools.
Oh, why would we?
It's laughable. It's laughable that it keeps on coming up.
May I speak?
Yeah, I'm done talking about Lick forever. You guys are never going to hear me say the word.
I just want to say something in terms of, putting the perception in place, CryptoPause, because I think if you look at what we're doing, what we say is one thing. We don't need to talk at all. What we do is we support projects like the Sanctuary that helps derug projects. Great verification tools may be something that you have to add to a Discord, and it represents working with a project, but in reality, it represents the community being able to band together. And at the end of the day, great verification tools are a value add to the community members. Nobody's getting anything or having that data used in any way that's going to affect them. Okay, so it's very important that we just make the distinction of understanding when something is being used as a marketing campaign for whatever purpose. We don't know, right? There was no intention here that I could see that was ever a pursuit of truth. There was nothing that said anything positive about all the other things that Grape really does in reality, where we put our efforts and our focus to really get people behind working with the projects that are good for Solana. And I don't think we should give a shit, because rugs in general exist in any crypto blockchain space. They appear on every single L1 that exists, and the ones that are the cheaper ones are more susceptible to it, and that's it. And there's really, if we spend all our time trying to police the projects, no one is policing projects on Solana. Censorship resistance, 100%. There's really no value, and I've thought about this a lot because I wanted to be, ethically aligned with this. It's an untenable task, and it's very difficult for us to be able to say anything in that regard. The information appeared, it was shared with the community had every ability to share this information publicly and to tell people about it, right? It came from the community. Most of the information we get about whether or not there's going to be something comes from the community, because we have no fucking clue. We have no idea who's going to rug. If we did, we wouldn't work with them. It's that simple. And when I say work with them, we're not working with them. We gave them the tooling, which we said was open to everybody to use. That's it. We're not going to sit and try and go dealing with each individual idiot that decides that they're going to go and try and be smart. If the community figures it out, notify the community, and everybody needs to take appropriate measures. The knowledge needs to be dispersed and distributed. That's it. That's my higher level philosophy on this. People
Yeah,
people
I
targeting
totally get
Grape.
that, and basically I can I understand all of that. It's just I want to make sure that we're not being accused of turning a blind eye. So what Kirk said in chat, I can totally stand behind that. No endorsement. We're providing just verification, and that's that.
Yeah, but it's not even a blind eye when I was approached privately and I insisted that they discuss it publicly. Like, it's the opposite of throwing a blind eye.
Yep. Which just tells me that the and we'll wrap this up, because the intention was to get Dean to do something, or to appear, or to show up, so that they can gain traction from somebody that has a lot of followers and might get them in the spotlight. There's really no value here, and I found it I found it quite a disgusting display of people that we've looked at and thought are part of the community, taking a shot at a community member that's done nothing but push forward a lot of the initiatives that we have to decentralize, to become community based, to have a DAO. you know, it's not. Dean's right. I mean, it's not productive. But I just want to clarify it. I'm saying it right from my perspective, having been close to the ground on everything that's going on. Is really no merit to any of the claims or any of that shit, and I just see it as a really big opportunistic approach of just trying to appear. Uh, no point, no point in continuing further on it. I'm sorry if I talk about it passionately. It's fucking annoying.
Yeah, no worries.
Hey guys, how's it going? um, so I did want to mention one thing that's kind of related, but um, it I think it's worth mentioning though, and it's happened quite often. It's something that gets posted quite often, and it's about the value of grape. Um, and again, I think we all share a shared responsibility towards the value of grape. Um, and you know, the fact that the price of grape has been going down um, has been brought up multiple times in in chat, um, at least in the last couple of weeks. Um, I was wondering if we could do something where we either get people together to come together and talk about it, or encourage more people to come to the DAO meetings and bring up that topic. But it feels like beating the head dead horse in the chat every time, where people will be like, "Hey, the value of grapes going down. Hey, can you come and talk about how we can make it better?" And then there's silence. And hey, the price is going down. And hey, can you do something about it? And silence. Um, it just feels like it's polluting the chat too much. That at one point we want to do something proactive about it.
Sure, I think it's important, God's love, to put this into context. Nobody on the DAO board right now is talking about the price of grape. We're talking about the value, right? And I think that there needs to be a distinction because uh, grape as a token represents our governance. It represents our ability to continue to govern and make decisions for a decentralized DAO community that is capable of being able to drive product, drive community, drive gaming. We've outlined initiatives of where we want to put focus, and I think a lot of the conversations we have been having are about how we instill the value in the token, not talking about price. And the reason we don't talk about price is because that's a financial metric that can represent a whole number of things that don't really tie into the meritocracy of what grape is, right? Um, I think it's a separate discussion that we're not a DeFi protocol, right?
I agree with you, Araxis. Absolutely, 100%. I know that's why I'm saying, like, I know this is probably not the perfect place to discuss it, but I think since it's being raised so many times, we do need to create a platform um, to talk about it, or give somebody a place that they can go and talk about it. Like, if people have concerns about the value of grape, like, hey, get together and discuss how are you going to increase the value of grape. Um, but just, like, coming to the chat and just keep saying, hey, value of grape is not adding any value at all.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And look, at the end of the day, if you do a search for like what those people talk about, it's only that. And it's only a few people. So I can tell you this, no one here talks about it. None of us, none of the people I see here ever talk about the price. None of us care. We're building, as you know, we're focused on building. if you see, you know, and I think it stands out as kind of a sore thumb, but it's actually probably less than 1% of what's discussed in our entire server. Like if somebody were to take the full log of what's discussed, you would see that's less than 1%. At the same time, it would be incorrect of us to delete or segregate or block or give anybody shit for talking about it. It's free, you know, it's permissionless, right? Anybody can purchase a token and then become a great ape. Like it's kind of laughable that there are gorillas who complain. You know, it's like, awesome, man. You're holding whatever 25,000 grape to come in and, you know, talk smack. I think the best thing we can do is, you know, focus on building and focus on, you know, building out what we want to see the world have. We regularly work and focus on things that others don't value at the time. When you can understand this, when we were talking about verification to, you know, different people around the ecosystem, you'd be surprised how many people thought, this is ridiculous, this is useless, right? And then, you know, now, you know, people talk about competitors. Well, I guess it wasn't so useless if now there's an entire market there of competitors. I mean, there's probably like 8 different verification tools. So, you know, I'm very, you know, I don't look at the price at all. I'm very comfortable with us focusing on building in value. I think that that's the better place for our time. You know, if you're comfortable with the fact that we're always going to let people talk about anything they want, but I don't think it would be a good use of resources to have an organized way for people who are not part of any of our building processes, right? As I said, if you search for what these people talk about, it's never about, you know, oh, I tried this on Grape Marketplace, here's my input, or oh, I voted on this, or can you explain this proposal? It's never that. It's always the same. So I would be more likely to say, hey, we have to address something if the people, you know, in this audience, in this stage, on discourse, on any of the value contributing members were mentioning it, and it really is less than 1% of overall chatter.
I agree that, I mean, the overall sense that I have got from, you know, being here and communicating with you guys is, you know, we are looking at this as a governance token and not as a value token. But I don't think we are spelling it out. And I think that's probably where the missing link is, right? I mean, if we are saying that, hey, you know, we are adding value, but we are not actively doing, like, we are not doing buybacks, or we are not as a team actively working towards appreciating the value of our token. Like, I think we should let people know that that is not something that we are doing, and not not you know, have them be in this sense that, you know, that is something that we are striving towards. And if we are striving towards that, and I'm saying if we do want to go towards that direction, if there are people who are coming and saying, hey, I'm concerned about the value, we can send them to that place and say, hey, go to this chat room and talk about the ways you can improve it, and you know, address it that way. But if and I'm completely okay with it. I understand most of you are of that same mindset of, you know, this is a governance token, and I'm not really concerned about the value of it. But it looks like there are people who are concerned about it, and if they are, make it their problem to solve it.
It's actually something we addressed a couple of months ago for the first time for real, and we gradually try to move away from linking price to anything, and also being aware of our wording. So we try to not use emissions instead of rewards. So it's a step-by-step approach, and actually something that's also on the list for the agenda. It's marketing, and that's something Dynite raised a couple of times. So we don't invest that much time in it right now, because it's also really time consuming if there is someone who's actually talking about price and you need to explain everything to him. It's something I have in a draft for the documentation, but basically we need to do it on all fronts, and it's something we gradually change. But you're totally right. It's not as clear as we'd love to for especially people that are not involved in Grape and that they who are coming from the classic DAO and other DAOs and crypto space. But we are working on it.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks a lot, guys. Again, I think we're over time, so thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak on that.
All right. I think that's a good stopping point for this Sunday. Any last minute comments before we start closing down?
Yes, I love Grape.
Is that a comment or a statement?
It's a statement.
Okay. All right. Thank you all for joining here this Sunday night or morning, wherever you are in the world. It was a grape-tastic time, and hopefully we continue doing what we're doing here. Block out the noise, keep building towards what the vision is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm telling you, continuously we're going to be in places that people don't see. You're right. Like we've worked on having governance triggered listings for NFTs. This doesn't exist anywhere in crypto, let alone, only Solana. You have to be very deep into thinking about things to understand, okay, if DAOs become a thing and they're going to have assets to manage, how are they going to get those assets into a place without having to trust a central authority at some point in the workflow? And like what we're gonna now spend our time educating people who don't spend any time in our community. Like one by one, somebody buys, 3 Grape, comes in, says why price down, and now we're gonna say, okay, let me make sure he understands why it's important to focus on the workflow for decentralized organizations. Okay, another guy just bought 5. Like, I think you guys understand that this is the area we're in, and we're building things that are obviously essential. I have nothing but faith in everyone that I'm working with, and today was one of the best DAO board meetings of all time, and you guys crushed it. I mean, to hear that you use the squad, right? Like, imagine a few months ago, you guys hadn't even heard of squads, and now we're probably the only organization DAO that is doing things like this and proposing and voting. Trust me, I go through multiple squads. I go through multiple realms. We're doing things that are at the bleeding edge. That's what we have to focus on continuously. I think the most important thing that the DAO board can do after this meeting is to announce how the membership emission is going to work. I think that is very important to get the communication on more than anything that we discussed. And again, thanks, guys. Today was excellent, and I take back everything I said last time. This is proving to be perfect, and really applaud everything that went down today. It was phenomenal to watch.
Thank you, bro. And thanks, Die Knight, for staying awake this long.
Oh yeah.
He may have already passed out. But thank you, Dean. You're 100% correct.
God.
I was muted. It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure, gentlemen.
And quick
Gentlemen.
footnote: we created a squads as well for the bounty pool. So leaps and bounds, man, leaps and bounds.
Okay, take care, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.